Hello, Internet! Gino, that Pinguino Grieco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. I am joined by Chris ZombiePie Redacted.
I'm finally free.
Which means
I'm
that
liberated.
it is time, again, for a Final Fantasy VII podcast. Or a Final Fantasy podcast, I suppose. You are our
The,
final
the,
fanatic.
the last Final Fantasy VII podcast we will ever do,
In all likelihood,
hopefully.
until Game of the Year comes around. And then maybe it comes back up in some categories. Who's to say?
And maybe 4 or 5 years from now, we'll be playing the remake of Final Fantasy VII.
We'll be
Doing
playing
this
part one of the
all
remake.
over again.
So, just a little thing. Salute. I have some liquid in a cup. Salute, congratulations for finishing Final Fantasy VII. We did it.
I do not have liquid, but I'll just raise an imaginary glass and pretend that it has my very favorite liquid within it, which would be lemonade with vodka.
Zamaretto.
That is
Nice.
good. Anyways, yeah, I'm done. I
Did it. So first things first, what's your overall lasting impression? Like it? Hate
I
it?
liked it. I wish that the game was as good as its conclusion for the entirety of the game, but geez, you could say that about almost every video game ever that has basically its introduction, its middle, and then its conclusion. I feel that 80 to 70% of all video games have struggles with its middle part or middle section. Very rarely video games really shine during the middle phase of its narrative, and Final Fantasy VII is no exception. My very first impressions of Final Fantasy VII was that of I was a spectator that could enjoy it from at least some form of historical perspective of I respect this game a lot, but I never felt like I could ever really appreciate the then and now. I feel like I have a greater appreciation for the game. And I want to say, because I feel like there are complaints about how this game concludes, overall, I would say it was a journey that I enjoyed having.
I agree. It holds up remarkably well, especially considering the level of fervor around it. You would think that it could not live up to it, and it doesn't, but for the most part, it is an enjoyable experience that is not as dated as it otherwise could be.
I would say that I I would not include this game on my personal list of greatest games of all time or greatest games I've ever played. But I understand why people would say that.
Yeah. So let's get into it. When we last left your journey through the game, Cloud had just come out of a coma after flowing through the life stream, seeing himself in the past, and Tifa's there,
There was some heavy stuff.
and then you need to go catch a submarine.
Yeah, and I remember one of my biggest complaints about the very first part of Disc 2 is that, well, all of a sudden there's another magical MacGuffin we have to find. And I feel like that is still a complaint. The submarine section, and, well, the first thing that we should talk about is I hit a pretty big roadblock, and that roadblock was carry armor.
Yep. So
And
if that is a boss, if you have not played this game in a while, going down to the submarine, there's a section where you need to go to an underwater Mako reactor in Junon. After you get down to like where the submarines are, there's like this weird robot that's I guess picks up cargo
yes.
and it
And
fights you.
well, you go down there, and one of the weird things that I have about getting to the underwater facility is it's played for yucks, and it's rather comedic. And one of the weirdest parts about this entire sequence, from Carry Armor, the submarine, up until the Rocket Town sequence, is there are a lot of sequences or scenes that question whether or not you're the good guy. There's a weird scene in an elevator where there's these two Shinra soldiers, and they're like, "Oh, we're heroes, da 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 da," and then you defeat them, and then there's a lady in the elevator that's like, "You just killed two good men." It's like, oh shit, am I the good guy or am I the villain? And then you get into the submarine, and there are another group of guys where it's like, oh, you're just normal dudes.
Actually, those guys in the submarine are the guys who trained you how to do
Trained us for
the
the
Shinra
battle march.
marching thing.
And then there are other times where the Shinra soldiers have characterization that has never existed before, and it made it really uncomfortable to defeat them, or, as the game implies, kill them.
Yeah, you murder them hard. And they're regular Shinra soldiers. They're not even like the good ones.
They're not the... Yeah. It's one of the weirdest parts of all of Dis 2 that's not related to the Northern Crater or any of that weird clone nonsense. It's just one thing that really kind of, not necessarily rubbed me the wrong way, but I picked up on it, and I thought it was incredibly... I don't know if they realize how that is a weird thing to include in their video game.
Yeah, the characterization of Shinra as an organization is very weird throughout the game, and this is the moment where they're like, yeah, they have heart. Turns out the random soldiers you've been killing have families, and some of them want to date elevator attendants. And you've just been killing them.
And some of them, like, talk about, I have so much to live for. And then that was when I was like, fuck, am I the bad guy?
Some of them grow up to be Cloud.
Oh, shit. But no, you go down to this underwater submarine kind of questioning whether or not you're the good guy or the bad guy. And then, of course, Reno pops in, acts evil and not comical. Just although evil. It will shift back to that when we talk about it later on this podcast. And then he summons this giant robot monster, which is no joke.
Yeah, so carry armor, if you don't remember it, it has 2 crane arms that it can use to pick up your characters, and when it picks up one of your characters, they are essentially dead until you free them or kill them.
And you know what's really fun? Is when it's already killed one of your characters and you're down to 2, and it decides to have its next 2 attack pick up the other 2 remaining people, and then you just have to watch as your game ends.
Because they slowly take damage, right?
They slowly take damage, and he will continue crushing them until they are dead. And that happened to me. And that was a dick move. That was a big old dick move.
Yeah, carry armor's not a fun battle. That was the boss that probably killed me the most in the entire game. So I felt your pain. I lost to it like 4 times, maybe.
It's also in a weird spot in terms of you haven't become super powerful, because most of the bosses in the later parts of the game, they don't really scale all that well, especially when we talk about the later portion of the game. By that point, even if you don't do some of the needless nonsense that I subjected myself to, none of those bosses felt as hard as this, or the Demon Wall, or some of the other battles from Disc 1 or early parts of Disc 2. Because you're not quite there. You haven't quite mastered any of your materia yet. Especially the offensive ones.
Yeah, so, and the big difference is, well, there's that. And some of the materia that they give you later in the game, like in Final Fantasy VIII and some of the other games that in the series, there are ways to break the game earlier, or they give you the tools if you're skilled earlier on in the game. The way that Final Fantasy VII does it is it just gives you materia that are straight up broken at the end of the game.
Yeah, and there's this weird part where you're going down the last level, and I know this is skipping it, where there's literally a bunch of materia just laying on the floor that breaks the game. And you got none of those resources at your disposal at this portion of the game, which is why carry armor is probably, for me, was way harder than Sephiroth. Yeah, way harder than Genova. Or anyone.
Yeah, because they're in Final Fantasy VII, because the materia are behind story points or side quests that you might not have access to, you just don't have the tools to break the game. The only way to break it then is to grind and just out-level stuff.
Which is zero fun.
Yep. So, carry armor sucks.
Carry armor sucks.
And then you fight a submarine. How long did it take you to down the other submarine?
I got it on the first try.
No, I mean like how much time? Like 10 seconds?
Oh,
20
I
seconds?
lost that submarine real quick. And then I didn't know what any of the... Does the submarine sequence count as a minigame?
Yes, it does. It shows up in the gold saucer. You can go there and play it. I actually downed the red submarine in about 5 seconds. I just mashed the square button.
I've seen videos of people doing it real quick where they just smash on the buttons, but I got control of the game and was like, fuck, how do I control this? Oh god, the controls are inverted. Oh god, oh god, oh god. Oh, I have no idea where it is. What are these giant pillar things? Oh god, these are bombs. Oh, there's other submarines. Oh no. So it took me about 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't realize that you could just smash square and you just shoot torpedoes basically as fast as you can, and it just gets the red submarine before it can even get away.
And if you don't do that,
Then it's a
it's
mini game.
actually pretty difficult, not fun. The world in which you're piloting the submarine is zero fun. It's like this cyber virtual reality world,
Yeah, it's weird.
and it's a weird mini game that kind of sticks out as yet another example of this was clearly designed in isolation from the other mini games
And the rest of the game proper.
and the rest of the game proper, because the game never looks like this ever again. Or when you even pilot your submarine, the underwater level looks nothing like this
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like the submarine does not have up and down when you're piloting it. There's just above
No.
water and below water.
Above water, below water, fast, stop, slow. It's a weird thing. But what's even a weirder thing is when you take over the submarine and Cloud has kind of a panic attack. He animates real weird where it looks like he's playing Rochambeau to himself. What was that about?
I guess he has anxiety about, he has claustrophobia, I guess is what you learn there. And that's something that I didn't remember. Like there are a couple moments towards the end of this game where Cloud is very open or comedic or scared in a way that I didn't remember he had that kind of range. Because in all of his representations after Final Fantasy VII, like the game itself,
He's
he's
a
this
brooding teenager.
yes, he is a brooding teenager. Him and Squall have the same characterization, whereas I feel like Squall earns that shit in Final Fantasy VIII. In Final Fantasy VII, Cloud's a lot more versatile. And that
He
moment of vulnerability, I was like, okay. And there's a point where you get, I think, Yuffie back in the team, maybe
yeah.
at some point, and Cloud can talk to her and be like, I have problems with
Oh,
ships and
that
stuff
scene's
too.
great. That scene is great where he's like, "Well," she's like, "I'm throwing up. I'm sorry, guys." And Cloud's like, I, I have motion sickness too." He's like, "Well, how do you manage it?" And then he's actually going through how he manages his motion sickness. And then what's great about that is that there are scenes that establish that, and they build upon that
Yep.
about how he has motion sickness, and it actually results in something, an actual scene with another character where he's relating to that other character. It's almost as if they know how to tell a story.
Almost.
Yeah.
And
well,
then they go to space, which actually isn't bad.
you gotta do some other stuff. I mean, the submarine, you have to pilot it around and kind of stuff.
Oh yeah,
And
did you immediately go to Rocket Town or did you look underwater for stuff?
I looked underwater and there was this giant green thing. I was like, "Hey, that looks cool."
Oh no.
Then I bumped the submarine into that giant green thing, and I found out it was Emerald Weapon. And then it killed me in 32 seconds, and I had to play about 2 hours all over again.
Yeah, I was gonna. That was when you said you sent me a message saying, "Hey, what's this green thing underwater?" And I just in all caps, "No, run away, no, run away."
And then by the time you sent that, I was like, "I'm dead. I died in 32 seconds."
Everything's terrible. Yeah, that's Emerald Weapon. That's not to be fucked with. Which Emerald Weapon like respawn? It moves around whenever you enter or exit places, and sometimes it can be swimming right outside of whatever you entered.
So there are multiple spawn points. There's one of those spawn points is Emerald Weapon is just going to move around in circles, and if you have the camera in a weird position to where you don't notice it, it can actually bump into you.
Yep.
If you want to go to some of the other locations, Emerald Weapon will literally be blocking those. So when I tried to go to the Sunken Galnica, it was just sitting there like, "How you doing?" And I was like, I'm going to go back up to the surface.
Hope you don't spawn here again.
Or anywhere near me.
Please.
Oh, God.
Well, that killed you, and I guess, did you go to Lucrezia's cave at that point?
I did. I actually did Lucrezia's cave and then the Sunken Galnica. So do we want to talk about that, or do we want to go to Rocket Town and space?
Why don't we, I guess, Lucrezia's cave, because it's going to come up in the story. So we learn a little bit about Vincent as a character.
I have a little quabble with you. I
Okay.
feel like what you had suggested, that the scene with Lucrezia's cave wasn't actually that big of a deal, and in fact, it didn't provide that much information in terms of the story.
I
You
mean,
go to the cave, there's Lucrezia. I think it's her ghost,
no.
or it's just her.
I think that people with Genova cells have a hard time dying. And I think that it's her. Because she has Genova cells in her.
And then a little weird cutscene plays, and you find out that, yeah, Vincent used to be a Turk. He had the hots for Lucrezia, but Lucrezia had her eyes on another dude, and
Hojo.
Vincent was all like, well, if she's happy, then I don't mind. She gets pregnant with Hojo's baby. They decide to do a weird experiment thing on her where they inject Genova cells into her fetus
Yep.
because they're both experts on things that have never happened before.
Yep.
And Sephiroth getting born kills Lucretia?
Yeah, or something. It like kills her, but then she can't go back to the planet because she's got Genova cells in her, so she shows up at the cave somehow.
And Hojo goes crazy?
Something like that.
And
Shoots Vincent and experiments on him. Makes him a monster man.
which we don't ever find out what actually happened to Vincent to cause him to turn into Monster Mash characters from the 50s and 60s.
Well, you see Hojo like experimenting on him, and then you hear like monster noises.
Ah.
Yep.
Uh,
So Hojo
and
scienced
wait,
him.
then Vincent just goes into a coffin.
Yeah, he hangs out there. It's his
And
punishment.
what's really weird is when you take Vincent in your party to fight Hojo in the later portion of the game, and he still acts surprised about Hojo being the father of Sephiroth.
Especially because when you get Vincent, he says, I know Sephiroth's mom.
It's like, oh, yeah, okay, great. So you should know what whose fucking father is, because he's the guy that shot you.
And you
He's
saw
the guy
them getting it on.
you saw them like starting a relationship, and then no, he acts surprised during the scene with Hojo. It's like, what?
It's almost as if they wrote that scene as though you didn't go to Lucrezia's cave.
It's almost as if they would anticipate that you never went to Lucrezia's cave. And then Lucrezia dies,
And you
and
get,
then you have to go off, do weird random bullshit, and then you have to come back to pick up the stuff that you came for, which is his ultimate weapon or his final limit break.
both. You get both.
Yeah, you get both, but you don't get them when Lucrezia dies. You have to go away and fight like 8 or 10 battles, and then you come back.
Yeah, it's weird. The mechanics of that cave are weird.
It's in a weird part of the world. Like, it's actually hard to find Lucrezia's cave because the cave in which it is under the water, you have to look at it from the right perspective. And if you aren't using a guide, it's really hard to figure out where it is. I mean, you get a hint when you're flying the high wind. And I don't know if you could actually use the golden chocobo to go up in that area. I bet you could.
Yeah, I think you could.
But otherwise, it's using your submarine, it's actually really tough to find this cave.
Yeah, and the cave itself is then behind a waterfall, so you don't necessarily know it's even there.
And worst part, it's really tough figuring out where you should park the submarine in order to be able to get up and walk up in there.
Well, you need to park it next to rocky outcroppings. That's the
Yeah. And
it's weird.
the last part is that Vincent lies about Sephiroth being alive because he doesn't want Lucretia to have hope, and then she just kind of dies.
Yeah, he doesn't want to let her know what he became. Because I guess she never saw him as an adult.
Yeah.
So that's his dark, tortured past. Good thing that they gave him another game to flesh him out.
Oh yeah, they gave him a real like highlight of the PlayStation 2's lifespan.
Yep. I mean, have you seen some of the character designs for the bosses in Dirge of Cerberus?
They basically have pulled from Advent Children and then also the current designs of
Tetsuya Nomura.
yeah
There's
yeah.
a guy in that game who has a straitjacket on, and he
Mm.
has robot arms that hold guns.
I remember someone telling me, yeah, the whole point is that there's like a secret part of Shinra that's been operating underground for like 10 years that no one knew about.
Yep, it's even Shinra year.
And it's like, oh, so they basically had to write themselves out of a hole by digging a hole and filling it up with evil people.
Yes. And they've all got superpowers, and Vincent has to shoot them.
Another fun thing you can do underwater is the sunken Galnica.
It's a sunken plane full of research.
Full of research. It reminded me of the underwater research facility from Final Fantasy VIII, which
Yep, very similar.
very similar. Um, this facility is not as messed up as the underwater facility in 8.
Yeah, it messed up in terms of like it'll kill you, or messed up in like the implications of it are fucked up.
Difficulty wise, because the weird thing about the underwater facility in 8 is that it's the one area that can circumnavigate encounter none, and I was not prepared for that.
Oh yeah.
And also that underwater facility is messed up.
Yeah, and
So
it becomes like a adventure game for a bit. It's weird.
the sunken Galnica is far more straightforward. It's an underwater facility where Shinra has been preparing to defeat weapons or stuff. Let's just call it stuff.
It's got like anti-weapon and anti-avalanche technologies and materias, or anti-Sephiroth. Basically cool weapons and shit.
So they've been preparing for something that they didn't know about for years and decades.
Yeah, you know.
Just cause. They knew about the weapons even before the weapons existed.
Well, they always existed, and Professor Gast knew about them. But it's unclear why they would have made like a special materia that lets you use 2 items at a time.
Yeah, which
It's pretty sweet.
there's also the conformer, which is a godsend if you use Yuffie.
Yep, hits hard. And you get Sid's ultimate limit break and some other cool shit. And the monsters in there are fucked up.
They are so fucked up. There's the giant spaghetti monster that can cause your cast members to have sadness.
Yeah, it gives you the bad touch.
It gives you the bad touch. There's the giant dragon monster, which is no fun. And then there's the
flower.
Weird kind of tentacle Cthulhu monster. It's got a skull and tentacles and then weird green alien feet.
Yeah, there's one thing that's like a fucked up flower.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about. The flower that has the skull in the middle.
Yeah, that thing's fucked up.
If you don't have ribbons, man, that thing will mess you up.
Yeah.
And it causes a lot of status ailments and a lot of weird stuff. It's a great place to level up. That's why a lot of people like the Sunken Galnica. It's a great place to pick up on AP as well as leveling up your materia. If you're not prepared for it, it's a tough place to be.
Yeah, I was really impressed going back there with just the animations of the different enemy types.
Oh yeah, the enemy types are really out there. They all if the whole point of this area was to create this like spooky area where it's characters that are always tough and are always going to give you a run for your money, the design for those characters and those enemy types is perfect. They're horrifying, they're scary. It's a great the enemy design is perfect for the area.
And then did you fight Reno and Rude?
I did fight them. And
they're fine.
You can still steal from. You always are able to steal stuff from them, and they don't like figure that out. You can always steal the Zydric from Reno or Rude.
I did not bother stealing from them. I just killed them.
Yeah. And if you do the Sunken Galnica, you don't have to fight them the second time around. But I keep fighting them because fuck the Turks.
Good reason.
Fuck them. They're annoying. I think at this point, they were kind of what I wanted the Turks to always be conveyed as. People doing the dirty work for Shinra, and if you get in their way, they will fuck you up. But then you defeat them, and then it's almost as if the game doesn't know what to do with them in Disc 2 or Disc 3.
Yeah. Yeah. Similar to Raijin and Fujin. Though Raijin and Fujin, I think, pay off a lot better than the Turks.
Yeah, at this point, the Turks are just doing the bidding of whoever, even though it was suggested that they were created by the Shinra family, Rufus or his father, and when they die, it's almost like, well, why are you taking someone's orders? You're just taking orders for the sake of it. Shinra's falling apart, literally by the seams. It's literally coming apart, and here they are still arbitrarily enforcing rules that have no meaning or no impact to the ultimate conclusion of the plot.
And then not enforcing them intermittently for seemingly no reason.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Then you go to space, so that's cool.
Then you go to space. So you find out that Shinra has a weird hackneyed plot or idea that they can stop the giant meteor that's descending from the sky if you collect all of the pieces of materia, or they only have one.
Well, they could have all of them if you lost the other pieces.
I don't understand why we didn't just side with Shinra and it's like, hey, that's actually a good idea. We'll take this materia that's very volatile and have it blow up the meteor. Why don't we put all of our pieces and get invested with this Shinra plot that might actually save the world?
Think of all the ancient knowledge that is held in those materia, though. Think of the planet.
There's a giant meteor that's about to cause the apocalypse.
No, I think we need to save the planet by using the knowledge of the ancients in the materia to save the planet.
Millions of people are about to die if we don't stop this meteor. Like, that's the weirdest thing about the story is the characters continually talk about, we're going to save the planet. What about the giant meteor that's about to kill millions of people? I'm doing this, and then there's a real awkward scene where, like, Cloud's talking about, I'm doing this to get my revenge on Sephiroth, and then it's like, well, what about, we're doing this, what? No, there's a giant meteor that's going to kill us all if we don't stop.
I'm here to get mine.
And then Barrett's like, I'm doing this for Marlene. Like, you guys realize there's a giant meteor. Marlene can't live if a giant meteor destroys the entire planet. Like, what the fuck is anyone? Was like, Vincent's all like, I have
Yuffie. I'm doing this to get mine.
But there's a giant meteor. This idea with Shinra actually makes sense.
Vince is like, I don't really care if you live or die. I'm a zombie man that every waking moment is pain. Whatever. I have a gun and a headband.
But there's a giant meteor.
Okay, I guess I'll fight the meteor and turn into a vampire.
I mean,
that'll help, I guess. Kate Sith, what's your opinion? Let's gamble. Okay. So you go on a spaceship. And
you go on a spaceship, and it's
fight Rude, beat him, and then you go on a spaceship.
It's the dumbest battle with Rude. Like, if we're really talking about getting the Turks over as this awesome threat, man, you off Rude in the company of soldiers that he's with, like, in seconds. And it's really weird when you consider the fact that the other battles with the Turks are no slouch. They're actually kind of difficult. And then here you just off them in a little, like, literally seconds.
Yeah, the difficulty spikes in this game are weird and abrupt. But if you go to the crashed Gelnica before you come to Rocket Town, you will have at that point gotten some of the items and materia that start breaking the game. And so at that point, all the bosses after it kind of cascade in difficulty. They get bumped down as a result. But in space, there's the fulfillment of Sid's storyline.
Yeah. So we're supposed to get a huge materia to stop the apocalypse, pilot a ship into the meteor, And oh wait, it's also supposed to be Sid's character moment.
Yes.
And it actually mostly works. It
Mostly.
it mostly works. There's some weird stuff that almost spoils it, but I think you could also agree that Sid's character moment isn't entirely spoiled. Uh, he finally gets to space, and the reason why I say it's slightly spoiled is that the speech that Sid has with Cloud about why this is important to him makes no sense.
I really enjoyed. He tells Cloud, "What if science is what's going to save us? What if we need to get on this ship? What if it's not this hoity-toity bullshit with the materia? What if it's science and we need to go to space because maybe science can solve our problem?" And then once he's in space, he's like, "Actually, all that thing I said about science, fuck that. I just wanted to go to space. Everything I said was
And I was
actually
okay with the initial part of that thing where he's like, maybe we have to maybe it's actually science. And it's like, oh yeah, this is Sid's the industrial guy. He's the guy that kind of has slight allegiances with Shinra. We have an alternative to the yet another environmentalist. And then no, they push all that shit to the wayside, and that entire speech that he gives Cloud is almost just completely tossed away.
Yep, turns out he just wanted to go to space.
He just wanted to go to space, and it almost sucks all of the emotional investment in Sid because it makes him seem as if he's this selfish prick that only has his own self-interest in mind.
But I think that is his character moment. It turns out he kind of is.
There's no altruism to it. He doesn't justify his behavior, or he doesn't justify a perspective or provide a perspective on the world or the environment. No, he just wants to go to space and fulfill this dream that you don't even figure out why he wants to go in space in the first place. He just wants to go to space
Well,
for the sake of going into space.
which is a good enough reason as far as I'm concerned. If it's good enough for Lance Bass, it's good enough for me. But
Science is a power, Gino, created and developed by humans.
I think that it's just in the Final Fantasy games, almost every Cid is a technology man, and making him go to space seemed up like the all Cids sort of alley. But that's fine by me. Ultimately, is it Sarah?
I like the scene with Shara to where her
Shara.
hunch from the very beginning turns out to be a part of the plot in this scene, where the reason why he hates Shara is because she stopped or interrupted the initial rocket sequence or launch sequence, and it was because there was a faulty oxygen tank, and then that oxygen tank actually was faulty. It blows up and some debris goes over Sid. Sid purports or postures himself as making this heroic sacrifice, asking the characters to run away without him. But of course, he doesn't actually make this sacrifice. And his behavior to Shara doesn't necessarily change. He's still this kind of gruff old asshole. He's very uncouth when he talks. Like, he's never humbled, even though there are multiple scenes that suggest that should provide a humbling experience for Sid. He doesn't become less uncouth. He doesn't become less off the cuff. He doesn't become more cognizant of his surroundings. He doesn't change. But then again, all of the other characters are so over the top, so heavy-handed about the environmental themes that I was kind of okay with Sid not changing or developing as a character.
Yeah, I was fine with it. He had his comeuppance. Shara kind of redeemed herself, as though she needed redeeming.
She needed redeeming, even though she's been his caretaker for years, and he continues to level abuse at her direction.
And as though there was any doubt that she was correct in the first place.
Because she's a scientist, and Sid's just this...
He's a scientist, but he's like
talking pilot.
He's this cocky, like, we need to get to space. I'm an ideas man. Well, Sid, this ship would have blown up in space and you would have died. Nah.
Yeah. Well, I want to go to space.
I've got a lance and a biplane, so I think I know a thing or two about space.
I like how the science guy or the pilot uses a fucking sword spear item that has been used in civilization for thousands of years. He doesn't use like an electric baton or some form of technology or anything that would fit into his character. Well, I guess you could say his limit break shoots wind towards
His final limit
enemies.
break calls the high wind and it drops bombs on fools.
Well.
That's pretty
Oh,
cool.
hey, one quick thing. Probably one of my least favorite parts about the Rocket Town. I mean, we complained about it, but it mostly works. The scene with Sid mostly works. It
Yep.
probably could have been tightened up here and there. But one thing that's an unmitigated shit show is in order to get the huge materia, you have to push in a passcode.
Oh, right.
And Gina, are there any hints to suggest what the passcode is?
Well, eventually when you keep screwing up, Sid starts giving you hints. But I just looked up the passcode.
Yeah, it's a yet another goddamn puzzle that's not really a puzzle. You just basically have to brute force it. You have to push in 4 inputs. There's nothing in the environment to suggest what those inputs are. There's no diary article to read about a Shinra officer saying, well, I keep forgetting and I screw up the 4th one. The 4th one is switch or cancel, square, or X. No,
Oh,
you basically...
But what if there was just like a message written in blood and then a Shinra officer, or just like a little log that you have to pick up and then it's a voice log that's
just do XYYX.
Johnny keeps telling me that the passcode is circle square XX, but I don't know. Modern game design. I can't wait for the remake. That's totally what it's gonna be.
That's goddamn it. Like, it's not a puzzle. It's just some bullshit that's in your way that...
Sid's mom, ever since he was little, told him, remember, circle square XX, Sid. Remember.
Oh, God.
Tattoo it on your head.
Like, if he has all the hints in him, why doesn't he just tell you the answer?
It's a great question. He's not that into the planet. He's like, maybe science will do it.
If we don't have all the material... So why do you need all of the materia? Because you're afraid Shinra's going to use the huge materia for the wrong reasons?
Yeah,
but their reason is to blow up a giant meteor that's on a collision course to the planet and can kill all life as we know it. That seems like a really good reason to use this huge materia.
Yeah, but you're going to use the huge materia for the knowledge of the ancients.
You're going to put it in an observatory that no one can go to unless they're, like, friends of the people in Cosmo Canyon. So it's not even knowledge that everyone can experience to learn about the planet and why we need to not use Mako indiscriminately.
Yeah, but the huge materia, if you get all of it, that's actually how you get the master materia, which is something you only really get if you grind like freaking crazy. But the master materia is a materia that lets you use every single spell of a certain materia type. So all of the passive materia, or all of the command materia, or all of the magic materia, and it lets you use them an infinite number of times. So there's no limit on how many times you can cast it per fight. So it's one materia slot that covers every materia of that type. You'll never see it because you need to play like crazy to get it. You have to master all of the materia of that type, and then you get the master materia. So there is a thing that is super useful for saving the planet in those huge materia, though Cloud and his buddies probably don't know that. Bahamut Zero is super good.
Do you want to talk about stupid ass materia that you've got to go through hell and high water in order to get?
Do you mean like chocobo water?
So, despite the good advice that I got out of the community, despite the wonderful advice that I got out of you, we even created a list of side quests that I needed to do in order to get the full experience. The good side quests that would make my life
Do you have that
pleasurable.
list? Do you have the list of the ones that I said you definitely need to do?
Okay, so the list was Fire Cave, Galnica, Ultimate Weapon, Lucretia.
Yeah, so the Gelnica, that gets you some good materia, and it takes about 5 minutes to do, maybe 10.
And
Fire
Yuffie.
Cave.
I forgot Yuffie.
Yeah, get Yuffie, get Vincent. The Fire Cave is...
do some of the Wutai stuff to get the final stuff.
Yep. The Fire Cave, you're you're down there getting the submarine anyway, so you just get the Leviathan scales and you double back.
But if you miss those Leviathan scales, you are fucked.
Yeah, but the items in there aren't so amazing that it's impossible without them. You get a couple of those other side quests. It'll take you like 5-10 minutes if
Yeah.
you go out of your way. And then
Yeah.
there's chocobo racing. How
Which
long did it
everyone-
take you?
Everyone told me not to do it.
How long did it take you?
Took me like 4 hours.
It sucks. Did you sell your all materia and your teeth to get the money to breed chocobos?
So the weird thing is like, for most of the game, like, Gil is actually hard to come by, and you don't ever have that much. And then I don't know what happened, but after about, like, the last portion of Disc 2 and Disc 3, I had too much money. I even bought the villa in Costa del Sol. Because I just could.
Yeah. Because get yours.
I got one all materia, mastered all of the way, and then I sold it, and it turns out you can sell the all materia for $1.4 million.
Yep.
And that essentially breaks the entire in-game economy.
Yep.
So thinking that, oh man, I got all this money, that means I could do certain side quests that I didn't have the money for.
That wasn't the thing that was limiting.
Fool's errand of, I feel like I need to die for the sins of my viewers.
It was the bits of your soul that it cost that I was trying to stop you from paying. It wasn't the money.
So I had this wonderful idea. What if I do exactly what I did from Final Fantasy VIII and get all of the summons in Final Fantasy VII?
Oh no.
Now, that's actually
I mean,
not
Knights
that
of the
hard.
Knights of the Round is the one that's hard.
Yeah. There's only one that's really tough. And that's Knights of the Round. And that means that you have to not only do the chocobo racing, which is asinine. Basically, if you do it correctly, you can beat all of the chocobo races by hitting the automatic button and then just going to make a sandwich. That literally happened. Is I hit auto. I did the long race because I knew I wanted to make a nice sandwich. I didn't want to make no shitty sandwich with just meat and cheese. I wanted some tomatoes, mustard, mayonnaise. I wanted some pickles in that thing. I wanted a good sandwich. So I put the long race on auto with my hilariously over-leveled chocobo.
Yep. You feed them till they're good.
Yeah, you get the good greens from the chocobo master, who's off in some weird house in the middle of God knows where. And he's just this floating orb thing.
He's like one of those ancients from the City of the Ancients, or the Temple of the Ancients? Temple of the Ancients.
He's just this floating marble. He's like Ozma.
Yeah, and he's like, "What? Oh, you want that good? Those good greens?
Yeah.
You want that good
like,
stuff?
I want the good stuff."
Okay.
Then I bought it, and then it was like super expensive. And the hardest part about getting Knights of the Round isn't necessarily the chocobo racing. It's the soul-crushing amount of time you have to put into every part of catching the chocobos, raising the chocobos,
making them fuck,
and then, shit, my blue chocobo is female, and then I got this green chocobo, and it's also female. Well, I guess I have to soft reset in order to get a male.
Or you make another green or blue chocobo, then you just need a male one. Oh shit, it's a third female one.
Fuck. So, yeah, like multiple times you get your two, and you need to get not just the fair or the so-so chocobos, you need to get the great chocobos, and then you need to race the great chocobos 10 times or 8 times for chocobo racing. But if you try and do that without feeding them greens, they're going to be shit, and you're not going to win anything. And you got to get the special greens, which those greens are super expensive. You have to buy like 30 of them. And then, oh wait, you also need to get a nut, but they don't tell you that you need a nut in order to breed the chocobos until after you select the chocobos that you want to mate.
They're like, nah, they won't fuck without a nut.
And then you have no idea, well, which nuts... Well, Gino, which nuts... How does the game suggest which nuts you need in order to get the chocobos you need?
You need D's. D's nuts.
There's no hints in terms of how you go from regular chocobos, blue and green chocobos, black chocobos, gold chocobos. And then here's the worst part. Even if you do exactly what I did on the guide, because I wasn't fucking going to just experiment and bang my head on the wall over and over again. Even if you do exactly what the guide says, it's like a random dice roll. So you can still get a regular ass chocobo instead of the black chocobo, or a regular ass chocobo instead of the blue and green chocobos.
Well, you need the Zeo nut and the carob nut, which you get by, I think you steal them, right?
You steal them. But no, even then, you have a soul-crushing amount of luck that you have to subject yourself to. And then I got to the part, I almost gave up. I got real close to getting the gold chocobo, and then I almost gave up because what happened was I was attempting to breed my black chocobo with my wonderful chocobo, and my black chocobo was not mature enough, so I had to subject myself to like 18 random encounters until it was, and then by the time that it was, I kept mating my black chocobo with my wonderful chocobo, and I kept getting regular-ass chocobos instead of the gold chocobo.
Was it because it hadn't raced enough?
Yeah, because
Needs to race.
it needs to race like 12 times, but the problem is that by the time you race it for the 12th time, it moves up into the S rank, and the S rank is impossible unless you're racing a gold chocobo. And there's that fucking asshole that races a black chocobo and the B and A list chocobo races, and you don't got no black chocobo, so this guy's like 10 times better than you. You basically have to cheat and use the infinite stamina glitch. Or
Is that a glitch?
exploit. I don't know. I bet they knew that chocobo racing was a bunch of bullshit, so they put it in there to just throw me a bone.
Yeah, that dude, the Zorro-looking motherfucker who comes and takes your...
Oh, God.
Takes
And I
your
got
races.
him. Here's no joke. I got the Zorro dude when I was at level B in the chocobo racing.
He shows up, he's like, not today. Not today, son.
I only had a blue chocobo.
It's like, oh, you haven't seen nothing yet.
And here's the weird thing. When you do it right, when you do your first like 4 or 5 races, they're hilariously easy because it's like B chocobos against your chocobo that has all the cool shit in it. So you've been roiding up your chocobo, and it's like, I can go 100, and all these other chocobos can only go 70, and then my stamina's like 900.
My chocobo sprints the whole race.
And then you go up, and then here's the part where it like crushes your soul. You go up 1 letter, and then you are back into humble pie. You're back eating humble pie because those chocobos are 10 times better than you.
These chocobos are on roids, too.
Oh, fuck, man. And then the other part that just drove me crazy is when you mate 2 chocobos, they have to be mature. So if they're babies, like the blue, green, and black chocobo, you have to fucking battle like 18 times before they're ready to mate.
Yep. It's a bad system.
And then once you mate them, there's always the chance that you can get the chocobo that you don't need. So for the blue and green ones, there's a possibility that your 2 original chocobos, your 2 great chocobos, they could give you a male green and then a male green. Then you reset, you already have the male green, so now you got a blue one, but it's also male. So you reset. You have them breed, they give you another male green. Reset. Finally got to the blue. But oh wait, you got these 2 chocobos that you want to fuck right now. You can't do that. You have to have each of them win 12 races. And oh, by the way, in order for them to mature, we're not going to go by the passage of time, the amount of time I've been subjecting myself to chocobo races. We're going to go by the number of random encounters you've had. And you can't run away from those battles. The battles you run away from don't fucking count.
Great. So, did you eventually get other characters to ride the chocobo, ask you if they could ride the chocobo instead?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I put Vincent on my golden chocobo and it was actually kind of funny.
Yeah, Vincent will ride chocobos, Sid will, Tifa did at one point for me. I don't know if Yuffie will.
I don't know.
But it's pretty cool seeing a different character model just on the chocobo, because I'm a simple man who's easy to please.
I didn't figure out until much later that there's a separate section where you can house your chocobos in the Highwind.
Yeah.
And that guy's like, I'm bored. And then the best part is he judges your chocobo that you bring in. This is an okay chocobo. And it's like, all right, son, I'm gonna bring my gold chocobo. And he's like, this is a great chocobo. Yeah.
And then you get
So
the Knights of the
Gino,
Round.
what were the wonderful things that I got out of the chocobo racing?
You got Mime.
Which is great.
You got Knights of the Round, which breaks the game.
And then you got quadra damage.
You got Quadra damage, which is fucked up.
So Mime is only really great if you have a character with quadra damage. Because
I don't know about that. I think it's pretty great regardless.
All right, so quadra damage just basically allows you whatever spell you pair it up with, you cast it 4 times. So by this point, I had Comet 2, I had Ultimate, I had Flare, so I had plenty of tools and goodies to use quadra damage with. And if you use Mime after a person has used quadra damage, they also cast that spell 4 times. Not only that, but Mime has a far lower level of Magicka or MP that it uses.
Required. And you do also get the HP to MP materia, which lets you swap your HP for MP, which lets you just do all the spells again.
Yes.
Basically.
And then there's Knights of the Round.
Which is fucked.
Knights of the Round does, like, enough damage to kill any boss in the game. But the consequence, and I ended up not using Knights of the Round, the consequence is that Knights of the Round will basically cut your MP by half, and then also it's like a minute long.
Yeah, it takes forever.
It is egregiously long. It's obscenely long. It's longer than Eden in Final Fantasy VIII, which Eden was already super long.
It's pretty great to see that they learned their lesson from Knights of the Round, and still Eden was the result.
Yeah, Knights of the Round, I only used it a couple of times because I wanted to be done with this game. And then also, I used Knights of the Round a lot when there was another side quest that I subjected myself to.
What was that?
That was the Battle Square, because I wanted to also get Omni Slash. Because I thought to myself, well, if I'm going to break the game, why don't I break the game all the way?
Did you ever even use Omni Slash, other than when you have to at the end of the game?
Yes, I did. And,
does a lot of damage.
The problem is it takes forever to load up. It's like the slowest filling up limit break in the entire game. And I almost was like, why don't I just go to Meteor Train?
Meteor Rain.
Meteor Rain.
Let's go to Meteor Train too.
Oh, fuck, it's a train that drops meteors.
It's like Doom Train.
So here's the fucked up thing about the Battle Square is the Battle Square is not easy. The Battle Square is kind of tough no matter what. If you need to go all the way through the Battle Square in order to get any battle points, in order to get any of the good stuff. And what I think is fucked up is the fact that you got to do the Battle Square like 4 or 5 times in order to get Omni Slash. Fuck that. I should be able to buy Omni Slash after beating the Battle Square once. And then have W item be the thing that I have to do 4 or 5 times. Don't have both of the cool shit that I want take forever for me to get.
Yep. I agree.
But so the Battle Square is fucked up. There's the little spinny slot machine. If you're not careful, you can get real messed up. If you're real good, you just try to find a way to game the system, but
then you don't get as many battle points.
No, you don't.
So you got Omni Slash. You killed Ultimate Weapon too, right?
Yeah, Ultimate Weapon was actually annoying because Ultimate Weapon flies away and you need to bump into it with the Highwind like 4 or 5 times before it picks the spot that it wants to go to.
To die?
So it goes to one spot by pure random chance. And then you fight it once in like a weird place by Lucretia's Cave. You fight it there. Ultimate weapon, if you're not using Knights of the Round, which I fucking did, is not easy. It's kind of... Does Ultimate Weapon count as a super boss, or just basically Emerald and Ruby Weapon are the super bosses?
Emerald and Ruby are in a class all their own. Ultimate, so Emerald and Ruby got added to the American version of the game. Ultimate was there in the regular version.
Which, if you're listening, I did not get. I did not know. No, I have limits. I'm not going to beat Ruby and Emerald Weapon.
Don't. It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
It's not fun.
And don't even ask Gino or I when we do this Final Fantasy IX thing to beat Ozma. We're not.
I'm not doing it. I've played that game so many times. I am never beating Ozma.
We're not going to beat Ozma. It's never going to happen. It's a miracle that we were able to beat Ultimate Weapon, Omega Weapon in Final Fantasy VIII. But
that you can cheese.
Fucking cheesed.
That was worth it.
That was worth it just to watch the end. Oh my god.
It took a nice nap in a field.
Oh my god. That they should have planned that you couldn't use. But anyways, so Ultimate Weapon is not easy because it's got a lot of HP and then it runs away from you. And then you got to go find it and it's super fast. And if you don't know where it is or where it's going to, it takes forever to find Ultimate Weapon. You got to play this weird game of like, where did it go? Ah, man. And it takes forever to go to its second location. Like it's darting around. Ah. And then you beat it a second time, and then you beat it a third time, and then it blows up, and it causes a cave to or a cliff to landslide, and then that reveals a new location, the ancient forest, which is basically a level from Myst.
Yep.
Remember the weird frog trap from fucking
Riven? Yep.
There's a weird frog and bug puzzle.
Yep.
And I don't have a lot to say about it other than it's bad. It's a weird location. The Ancient Forest is a really weird location. It's another example of, I think that this was designed in isolation because it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's weird. It's like this cartoony, zany anime world that doesn't look like anything like the other worlds that I was working with. Why are all these frogs and bugs here? Why am I doing these puzzles in order to get the typhoon?
It's like the land before time.
Materia. Like, what if there were like dinosaurs or some sort of alien life form here? Then it would be kind of cool. But it's not. You
should play Chrono Cross.
Oh, I have been warned that game will melt my brain, so no.
It will.
Okay,
so... If you thought that this didn't have enough dinosaurs, you should play Chrono Cross.
So
that I think
appears to be all of the side quests that I subjected myself. The Dachau Fire Cavern, yeah.
You went in there, you get
the stuff. Scales. If you didn't get the Leviathan scales, don't worry, you're not missing out on much.
You get this Yuffie's second best weapon. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, but once you get Conformer, you basically don't need anything other on Yuffie at all.
Yep. Like Conformer.
So let's talk about how, and I'm just going to start off by saying, from this point forward, I think the game is pretty awesome.
Yes.
I think that basically the conclusion of Disc 2 and Disc 3, I have some problems with how the game ends, but otherwise, I think this game ends on a solid note. And if it hadn't been for me, and this is totally on me, not the game, if I hadn't done a bunch of bullshit, I think my opinion of the end of the game would have been much higher. But that's on me. I'm the stupid asshole who decided to do all these side quests that everyone said don't do. You warned me, people. Our dear listeners, you warned me, and I ignored you. And I'm sorry. I have disappointed you. So basically what happens is that it turns out that, surprise, surprise, when we take the huge materia, basically the ammunition from the rocket ship from Rocket Town, It didn't work. It blew up half of the meteor, so it almost seems to suggest that Shinra was onto something, that their plan probably would have worked if we hadn't intervened.
Well, it wouldn't.
Then why would you show half of it as being destroyed?
Well, I mean, if you didn't get the huge materia and you then allow the rocket to hit the meteor, it doesn't destroy the meteor. That's not an alternate ending to Final Fantasy VII.
I know, but I'm just saying that maybe we should have worked with Shinra to get rid of this giant meteor instead of fighting against each other.
Nah, I think you needed to use the power of friendship to do that.
Fuck. So there's this giant meteor that's coming ominously down into the world, and everything's fucked. So we have no idea what to do. And then basically Cloud's like, I don't know. I'm kind of freaked out right now. It's almost as if our sabotage effort actually was not to our own best interest.
And then you go to the ancient village again, and you see
you
weird...
go to Cosmo Canyon because you got to pick up Bundigan again.
Yeah,
that
Bugenhagen.
Bugenhagen. Who, I don't know if you picked up on this. Bugenhagen's actually named after a Lutheran priest that was a part of the Reformation.
Oh, okay. I assumed he was named after one of those weeble wobbles that don't fall down.
So is he a weird alien thing, or is the weird green thing like an orb that flies?
I don't know. I think he's a hippie, but also science. He's both. So he floats.
Yeah, that's the weird thing. You talk to Vincent and Kate Sith, and they're like, oh yeah, this guy's a fucking hypocrite. He used to work in Shinra, and he's stolen their technology.
Wait, really?
Yeah, you talk to Kate Sith, and he's all like, yo, dude, he used to work for Shinra. And then Vincent's all like, yeah, oh, by the way, I know you've taken me to Cosmo Canyon, but all the technology they use, they stole from Professor Gast.
I did not know that.
So yeah, if you talk to Vincent, he's all like, yeah, they took their technology from Gast. And so
this
that
hippie
frames
ain't that cool.
Bugenhagen as this giant hypocrite about, yo, man, I'm a hippie. I'm a part of nature. No, you aren't. You're a fucking asshole. You didn't talk to Kate Sith and found out that he worked in Shinra?
I didn't.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was really interesting. I thought they were going to actually address that in the story, but then they didn't.
Well, that's why I went on with my life and didn't know that, because they don't address that at all. I just assumed he was a super hippie. That somehow is freaking Red 13's grandpa, even though he's a man with glasses.
Oh, so remember when I made a prediction that said we were never going to go to Cosmo Canyon and Red 13 was going to die on the wayside?
I wish.
Turns out that he gets like this second character moment, and then Bugenhagen also has a weird amount of dialogue time or cutscene time.
He's basically Dr. Odine from Final Fantasy VIII.
And he knows a lot about the ancients despite not being an ancient.
Well, if he stole all of the shit from... If he stole all the shit from Professor Gast, then Professor Gast was the only person who actually knew a shit about the ancients. So maybe that's where he got it.
So you go back to the ancient city, but oh wait, you can't really go back to the ancient city. You need a key. If you don't pick up the key that you didn't know about, you have to go all the way the fuck back out of the fucking ancient city to the submarine, picking it up from a goddamn cave in the middle of goddamn nowhere in the bottom of the ocean floor. Then you gotta go back to the dock, back into the island, fly on back. But thanks to you saying, hey buddy, pick up this weird bone-looking thing on the bottom of the ocean, I didn't have to do that.
You're welcome.
Because that would have added in, what, an hour?
Something stupid. And the notion...
You have no idea. The worst part is you have no idea that you need to get this key until after you go there. But it's one thing if I go to the location and, oh, by the way, you need this special thing. Fine. But no, I have to subject myself to like 30 minutes of cutscenes and dialogue before I find out, oh, in order to progress the story, you also need to pick up another MacGuffin.
Couple things. One, getting to the ancient city is not easy. You need to go through Fossil Town. You need to go through
No,
the
you don't.
Sleepy Time.
You
What?
can actually park the Highwind right next to it on the ice.
Fuck. Okay. Well, even still, you need to
I
run through
figured
all
that
those
out by
screens.
complete accident.
You need to
I
run
was
through all
like,
those screens, and you need to get there, and you need to run back. Two, how the fuck did the ancients get to the bottom of the ocean in a freaking cave without drowning?
and then also what they're attempting to hide is just a projection system into the life stream.
It's a projection system that like records the shit
Weird
that goes on,
murders
and
that happen. So for some reason,
they
you
have a
get this
security
key.
system.
It plays some music and then turns on a projection system, and then just conveniently the projection system recorded the exact moment that Eris died. Nothing before it, nothing after it.
Well, I mean, before it, it's just a lot of home movies of the ancients. It's just nothing but that.
But like it just conveniently
They taped over,
it was conveniently right on the moment that we needed to play.
of course. The planet something something.
So it turns out that, of course, the weird necklace thing that Eris had was very important to the story because, you know, when she died, the camera panned directly on that materia.
Chekhov's materia.
So why didn't they just pick up that fucking materia from the goddamn bottom of the place?
Well, she already used it, so they didn't need to.
You know what? I'm not going to complain because it meant that I didn't have to hunt after another MacGuffin.
No, it was there the whole time. You had the MacGuffin.
No, it's weirdly in the middle of like the beach next to Midgar, glowing green.
What?
Wherever it is, it's just there, glowing green, saying, "Hey, buddy, how you doing?"
It's in the bottom of the ancient.
Yeah, it was a
place.
beach. I like to call it a beach for histrionics. But anyways,
You got it.
you get it. You play a projection system.
Then you have to
It's
fight Diamond
stupid
Weapon.
that you have to go back and forth in order to get a key that you didn't know you needed to get. And the ancient city. I'm between two worlds because I know what the limitations of the game was, but I almost wish there was another location instead of the ancient city.
Yeah. I like the idea that you hadn't seen everything in the ancient city in the first part. Like,
And
you
then
need
I
to
also
come
like
back.
that. I do like the idea that, hey, remember all those empty scenes or rooms in the ancient city? Well, you're going to go back to those and you're actually going to do something there that's important to the conclusion of the plot.
I just think, considering that that's probably the strongest location in the entire game, I'm glad that that was the one they decided to make you go back to and not like Calm or Nibelheim or something like that. Because they could have done that. It could have been Gongaga.
Could have been Gongaga,
And no one wants to go to Gongaga.
Calm, or the Chocobo Farm.
That would be great if all the revelations were in the Chocobo farm.
Fuck that jazz.
And so you go back to Midgar after that.
No, you
Right?
exit the ancient city. You go up the Highwind. You're like, oh god, wait, what the fuck are we gonna do? So that's the one thing. If Diamond Weapon doesn't burst out of the ocean, what were they gonna do after the ancient? Basically, the whole point is, oh hey, Eris is praying because the Jeebzus is going to summon Holy. And then wait, she's dead. So is she praying as a ghost?
No,
Like
she
ghost
prayed. She prayed for Holy. She used the white materia when she was getting stabbed by Sephiroth. So when
Okay.
she was there, she already used Holy, but the
She used
spell
Holy.
the spell could not break free because Sephiroth's powers stopped Holy from escaping from the center of the earth.
And this is the Sephiroth that is the crystal?
This is the real one. Yeah. He's blocking Holy through dark magics.
We'll come back to Sephiroth because I have some fucking questions about Sephiroth. Oh, but for the sake of brevity, let's move on. So if you didn't have Diamond Weapon bursting out of the ocean, the story stops.
But you do, so instead you go wait on a beach. You
But
save
the
and then...
only reason why Diamond Weapon is here because they realized, oh shit, there's no other way to progress the story.
I'm happy with that. That scene's awesome where you get Diamond Weapon erupting out of the
Do you
ocean.
know what's... No, there's one thing that I don't like about the Diamond Weapon scene. It moves fucking so slow, and you park the Highwind on the beach right next to Midgar, and you have to wait. You have to wait a solid minute for that fucking thing to come to you, because you can't do what you did with Ultimate Weapon and just ram the goddamn Highwind into it. Why couldn't I fight it from the Highwind?
Because it's
Sid
more
was afraid
dramatic.
about the energy. Then why is it? Then why was I able to fight Ultimate Weapon from the Highwind, but I can't fight Diamond Weapon?
Because they needed you to wait on the beach. I actually thought about, while it was lumbering towards the beach, like getting up, flying to a place with better materia, buying better materia, and then flying back, and it probably wouldn't have actually made it to the beach yet.
So you're just waiting here for this damn lumbering thing, and maybe they made him super slow in order to make a scene in this game to make sense. But you fight him, and it's actually a pretty cool fight because it's this giant thing that's towering over you, almost to suggest that
It's a challenge.
doesn't make sense that you're able to defeat it. Well, you don't actually defeat it, but it actually does create the sense of a real sense of a challenge. But then it just turns around and goes away.
Till it gets shot.
But okay, so the giant gun is at Midgar, right?
Yeah, the Junon cannon gets moved to Midgar, and instead of being powered by one reactor, it's powered by all of the reactors in Midgar.
Why does Diamond Weapon just walk away?
From fighting you?
Yes.
Because it was trying to destroy Midgar.
Then where was it going after it fought us?
To destroy Midgar. It shoots at Midgar.
Then why don't we chase after Diamond Weapon? What? Why?
It's a good question.
Like,
It's real fast.
it happens because we want to watch this awesome CGI cutscene in which Diamond Weapon gets shot.
It is a pretty awesome CGI cutscene. Rufus gets really hurt. You think he dies, but then Advent Children
They
happen.
retcon that shit in Advent Children.
Yep.
Have we talked about that one big problem that I have about Advent Children and the characterization of Rufus?
No,
They reframe Rufus as like this misunderstood anti-hero.
he's not that.
No.
He's
He
just a
fucking wanted
villain.
to execute you. And then like Rufus is actually one of the keystones towards helping Cloud, and I find that really off-putting in hindsight.
He's got a shotgun and a dog, and then when you beat him, he jumps on a helicopter and he leaves.
And he taunts you at every point that he can taunt you, and then yeah, he wanted to execute Tifa in a gas chamber.
Yeah, he's not really an anti-hero.
No, he's not a misunderstood person that's just trying to atone for his sins. He should be in a fucking prison for war crimes. Because he
Or in
ordered
the-
Shinra to fucking burn all of these other towns and destroy all these other people.
Or he should be in the dirt. But instead, he shoots Diamond Weapon with a cannon.
So Diamond Weapon walks away from you in order to power up its guns to blow up Midgar?
Yes.
But didn't we go down to fight Diamond Weapon to prevent it from destroying Midgar?
Yes. And then it says, nah, later, and it shoots
But
at
then
Midgar.
why don't we chase after Diamond Weapon to prevent it from destroying Midgar? Why did we all of a sudden give up on the whole point of us confronting Diamond Weapon?
I think it's implied that you weren't strong enough to stop Diamond Weapon. It just did its thing.
The game just wanted to show a cutscene.
Well, yeah, but I'm telling you what the game's logic for this was. You don't have to buy it. I don't necessarily buy that you can jump and fight these giant monsters as tiny people, but whatever.
But then you do on multiple occasions.
Yeah, it's a weird game. So they blow up
They
Midgar.
use this giant cannon to kill Diamond Weapon, and Diamond Weapon just sits there and is like, I'm not going to move like 10 feet to the right to avoid this giant blast. I'm not going to kind of like duck.
It's great that two of the weapons get blown up by this giant stupid cannon. It's really good that that cannon was compatible with Midgar's technology too.
It's really good that they were somehow able to transport this giant fucking gun, and they had all of the facilities to plug all of the Mako reactors into this giant gun.
And they shoot through Diamond Weapon and then knock the barrier off of the North Cave, so they pop the zit.
The weapons are shit at their jobs.
They are. They're very bad.
So Sapphire weapon, the very first one, just thought, hey, why don't I put my mouth on this giant cannon thing?
Let me just gum up on it. Wow.
And then it dies. And then Diamond weapon gets shot and dies. Ultimate weapon's just flying around doing shit. And it dies.
Emerald
weapon is in the bottom of the ocean just dicking around doing nothing.
And
Ruby weapon is just hanging out by the fucking golden saucer doing nothing. Their whole point of them was to suggest that the planet needs help. And the planet wants reinforcements to ensure its sustainability.
It's almost as if two of those weapons were not in the Japanese version of the game, and one of them was optional. Only one of them was optional.
It's almost as if they wanted to do these awesome CGI cutscenes, and that's the only reason why they're in the game.
Yep. And Ultimate Weapon at least destroys Medeal.
Yeah. It's the only one that actually does its job. But the only city it destroys is this hippie resort town that doesn't even use Mako.
Yep. It's a weird stuff. So you then get the cool scene where you pair.
Oh, that scene is so good. That scene is so good.
You parachute in.
Oh, it's so good. That scene is so good. I think that's the best scene in Disc 2.
Great. You're going to really like Final Fantasy X then.
Okay, whatever. Didn't you think that the parachuting scene was pretty cool?
Yeah, that parachuting scene's awesome.
It's so good. It's so... You're just like, oh, well, we can't hack our way into it. All of the gates are... So I thought that they were just going to, like, put dynamite on the doors and blow it up and, like...
Nah.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid just burst into it, guns ablazing. Nah, we're going to jump from the high wind, use our parachutes, and hope that we don't crash into any of the giant buildings that populate Midgar. It doesn't really make sense, but man, it's a great visual.
And then you fight your way through the sewers.
The sewers suck.
Did you fight Reno, Rude, and Elena?
I did, because like I said, fuck the Turks.
I let them go because I just wanted to finish the game.
Do you get an extra line of dialogue with them? Because they're just like, blah, blah, blah.
They say peace, basically. Like, we're out. Okay.
The weird line of dialogue that you get from, I think it is Reno, he says, you know, we have a weird relationship, but our orders are our orders. And it's like, oh, it's like charge of the Light Brigade. Ours is not to question why. Ours is just to do or die. The problem is that they deliberately ignore orders time and time again. Why are they accepting their orders when clearly Shinra is falling apart?
Yeah, I think if you decide not to fight them, they go, hey, Elena, like, Shinra's frickin' dying all around us. Fuck this. We're out.
And
they leave.
One more thing that we're forgetting. It turns out Kate Sith is one of the executives in Shinra.
He's Reeve.
He's Reeve, that weird guy from the background that always is like, hey, can we not blow up the entire Sector 5 slums? That seems like a real dick thing to do.
What if we were less evil? Just a little less? Not
like
all the way. A little less.
We could still make millions of dollars selling energy, but we don't need to kill people.
What if we had fewer mutants?
What if we had no mutants and just, like, sold weapons to armies?
No? Okay, I'm gonna be over here with my goatee then.
What if we realized that Mako is, like, bad for the environment and we use coal, which is also bad for the environment, but maybe a little bit less bad?
It's not like the souls of our ancestors.
Yeah, let's just kill ourselves using global warming.
Let's do that. It's slower. How am I controlling Kate Sith again?
How am I
waves?
able to control this robot while, like, I'm doing all of these business meetings in Shinra? Am I, like, playing my Nintendo DS and having to fake this voice? It's like, hey, Reeve, dickhead, we're trying to buy another corporation. You don't need to pretend to be some weird anime cat guy.
I love that he has an accent. I love that Kate Sith has an accent and Reeve has no accent. I want to know, is that Reeve putting on an accent because that's what he thinks
I
Kate
thought
Sith
it was because
should
there's a
be?
scene where Scarlett's like, "Hey, why is your voice weird right now?"
Yeah.
So does he have to fake a Scottish? Oh, like I watched Advent Children and Kate Sith is like Scottish, right?
Yep. He's got to like. Yep.
So and then Reeve is just this rough, gruff guy.
Yep.
Ugh. He's like every anime guy ever.
Yep.
So does he have to fake his voice?
I don't know. I like to think that he's faking his voice. I hope that in every board meeting he's just talking to himself in a corner, and they're just like, "What'd you say, Reeve? No, nothing."
Nothing. Yes, we should buy them for $15 per share. Oi, mate. So we're going to steal some materia from Shinra. You're going to steal what from Shinra? No, nothing. 15. Don't go more than 15.
Great, Reeve. You're doing great work. Yeah, and the notion that he's just sitting there with Heidegger and Scarlet and piloting this stupid fucking cat robot the whole time.
Like he works with Scarlet, this weird, crazy woman who likes to design weapons and giant robots. No, he's gonna pick this cat that's on top of a fat Moogle.
Yep.
Why doesn't he pick one of those giant androids that we had to fight from earlier that has like guns and weapons and missiles?
Because his job is infiltration. He needs to be unassuming,
Why
like
didn't
a
he
robot
pick like
cat.
an android that looked more human-like?
Nope, robot cat. Because anime.
How is he controlling Kate Sith?
I don't know if you know this about Japanese properties, but they do a lot better when you have a cute cartoon character to be your mascot.
To be your comic relief.
I don't know if you've heard of this character called Tony Chopper from One Piece. He's very popular.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know of this character in Monster Hunter. It's the little cats.
Oh yeah.
They are very popular.
But here's the problem. If Kate Sith's purpose is to make me laugh, he's the worst comic relief ever.
He's bad at it, but
he's like cracking jokes. Although there's one moment in this game that I think Kate Sith almost redeems himself. It's when he's like, "Hey Barrett, you always complain about me being a Shinra asshole. How about all that time when you blew up a reactor and you killed thousands of people? Huh?
What was up with that?
It's like, yeah, exactly. Why didn't we bring this up in the first place in Disc 1?
Yo, Mr. Ends justify the means, Mr. Gun Arm. What about that?
Yeah, you killed thousands of people.
It mattered. Yeah, some people need to die so that the Shinra could get... It matters if you were one of the people that fucking died.
What about all these innocent Shinra soldiers we've been fighting?
Nope.
Why didn't we give them the option of just, hey, buddy, Shinra's evil. Can't you fucking see the writing on the wall?
This game's not interested in that.
So, the Midgar scene is pretty cool when you skydive into the city of Midgar. It's a great visual. It is followed by an annoyingly boring dungeon in the bottom of Midgar that the game even continuously references how bad the dungeon is.
Yep.
Like, you go up to Red 13, he's like, I have no idea where the gun is. It's like, it's a giant fucking gun.
You're in the sewers.
We're in the sewers. Oh, great. All the characters that are also down here with me also are recognizing how bad this dungeon is. So I don't know about you, but I unintentionally went in the complete wrong direction and got the W item materia.
I intentionally went in the wrong direction to get the W item material.
Not realizing that this was not the direction that I need to be. I get hiding a materia, especially a materia that's pretty useful. The W item materia, kind of fucking useful. There's also a weird glitch with the W item materia that I didn't use.
What does it do?
Apparently there's a way to use the W item materia to duplicate items. It's basically the rare candy glitch from Pokemon.
Oh, cool.
So why would you put this materia like 10 screens away? Why not maybe 3?
Just to fuck with you.
It's like 10 screens away just to get this materia. And then also there are characters telling me, hey buddy, you're going in the wrong direction. It's like, oh, Okay. Yeah, I am.
Well, fuck.
And then it's like, oh, there's a dead end. It doesn't even circle around. And then you have to go another 10 screens back just to progress the story. And there's random encounters.
And they suck.
And they suck. You have to fight these giant tanks. And those tanks are like not easy to beat. And I didn't like the underground facility. Did you go inside the Shinra building?
Yeah, I went in to get some items from the the gift shop just because I saw an item that looked like a Tifa weapon and it sucked, so I felt sad about it.
Oh, yeah. It's not only is the Master Fist not as good as God's Fist or God Hand. But you got to pick up a Red 13 weapon.
I didn't care.
But Red 13's your favorite character.
I also didn't pick up the Kate Sith weapon that you can pick up in there.
Don't you think it's super funny that you can go to the vending machine you spent 250 gil in and you can get a couple of source things?
Nope. Didn't care to do that.
You can get a weapon for Sid, but it turns out that Sid's ultimate weapon is like stupidly easy to get. So why would you ever pick up any other weapon? Yes, I know that you don't do materia growth, but there are better alternatives to these weapons you're picking up in the Shinra building.
Yeah, I went in there, grabbed the glove for Tifa, and then went, well, this sucks, and then left. Because the God Hand made it so that Deathblow never missed.
Yeah. And then you can do like added cut with Deathblow, and then you attack twice. I think so. I had Tifa with God Hand, and I was able to do 2 Deathblows in a row.
Oh, wow.
You fight a giant robot anime mecha that is piloted by Scarlet and Heidegger, which it sounds like a great idea to have the 2 remaining executives of this corporation fight against these people that clearly want them dead. Let's not put the other one in like a safe place to prevent the only remaining executives of Shinra from dying. Proud Claude?
Yeah, I love how many animations that stupid thing has.
It has like 10, because it has a different animation when you beat it. It has a different animation when you attack it.
It's got a like
heals over.
It's got a gun with each hand and each foot and like the
It has
joints.
like 10 different attacks.
And most of them suck.
It's a pretty straightforward boss. It gives you a sword for Cloud that you don't fucking need. Because you should have, like, all of Cloud's cool shit.
Yeah, but you get it. It's for free. And that kills Heidegger and Scarlet.
Does it?
Does. I think they're dead.
Kya ha 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 ha. Gwa ha 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 ha.
And their shitty laughs and their paper-thin characterizations. And then you get to meet the even more paper-thin characterization of Hojo.
So like I said, I had Vincent in my party thinking that that was going to add to the scene. Like Vincent would be able to confront Hojo and bring up like his history with Hojo. No, it turns out that doesn't happen. You don't get a special scene. In fact, in order for the purposes of the story, Vincent is totally unaware who Hojo is. He acts surprised when Hojo says he's the father of Sephiroth. And then that's it. He's powering up all of the reactors to cause them to melt down?
No, he's trying to power all of their energy into the cannon so that he can shoot the cannon at the North Crater and then give Sephiroth the energy from the Mako reactors in the cannon.
But isn't he summoning a meteor in order to get all of the energy in the life stream?
He's trying to help him somehow. The cannon shot's gonna be energy.
He's already summoned the meteor in order to transform himself into a new god because it's going to hit the planet and then the live stream is going to go into Sephiroth. Okay, so I got to ask some questions. I know that last podcast, I basically spent the entire podcast asking questions, but this is actually something that I don't understand. So let's
Okay.
take this step
I'm
by
going to
step.
try and help. I'm a
And we're going to take
doctor.
this.
I'm going to help.
We're going to take this step by step.
Okay. Go ahead.
Sephiroth is in the northern crater
Yes.
in a crystal.
Not
is he
anymore.
out of the
He's out of the crystal. He's
Okay,
broken
he's
free.
out of the crystal. He summoned a meteor.
Yes.
The meteor will crash into the planet.
Yes.
The energy that's released from this crash will be like pure energy from the life stream.
Yeah, so you know how when at the end of the game the life stream gushes out and like stops the meteor?
Yeah.
It would be like that, but it would be gushing into the crater that the meteor creates.
Okay. And Sephiroth is going to absorb that energy.
Yes, he's going to be there in the center of the crater and absorb that energy. And with it become some sort of god being that can leave Earth.
So here's the problem with that.
All of it.
All of it. First off, isn't the planet kind of semi-sentient? Can it cause the life stream to reject Sephiroth?
No.
But
then
then why does it command the life stream to stop the meteor?
The life stream seems to... He can absorb it.
How does he absorb the life stream? Doesn't life stream kill people? Like,
I mean, it can.
Didn't the life stream kill Sephiroth in the first place to where, like,
No.
fell into it and got turned into a crystal?
No,
Isn't the life stream going to do the same exact thing when it gushes into him?
No.
How does he know that the life stream is going to transform him into a different monster or godlike being?
I guess he doesn't. He just thinks it will. He's a madman, and the story needs him to do this. But he thinks that this is what's going to happen. He's going to hit it. He's the calamity that came from the sky, and he's going to devastate the planet and fly away.
Oh God. Okay, so I'm done asking questions about Sephiroth. Let's go with
Great.
Actually, no. Does Sephiroth know that Hojo is his father? No, right?
No, he does not.
So why does Sephiroth have this fall from grace when he finds out he's a tube baby?
He never knew Lucrezia, so he never knew his mom. He was always told his mom was Genova.
Okay.
He was raised, I think, by Hojo, but Hojo did not tell him that he was his dad. He was Sephiroth's dad. So then Sephiroth thought Genova was a person.
Okay.
And then when he found out Genova was this horrible monster from space, it fucked him up real bad. That's why.
You know, when I get angry about something like my prodigy, I just kind of like become depressed for like 2 weeks, and then I realize, well, shit, I got to get my bootstraps on and go back to work. Sephiroth decides to set an entire town on fire and then tries to transform himself into some like Space Odyssey space baby monster thing.
Yeah, that's his plan.
So what? Oh God damn it. Okay, so let's go back to Hojo because I don't think there's an answer for any of my questions about Sephiroth. Why does Sephiroth? Okay, one last one.
Okay.
Why does Sephiroth want to transform into some sort of monster man?
So Genova is this alien being that came from another planet, and
he's cutting apart her body in order to create these eldritch demons as well as Sephiroth.
Yes, but he believes that she is a traveler who was trying to go from world to world, and that the beings of Earth stopped her and harmed her for no good reason, and so he will bring retribution unto them. And then leave as his mother intended.
So he basically is okay with destroying the planet.
He is super okay with it. He blames the people of Earth for killing his mother or harming his mother. And he's taking retribution. Okay,
so Hojo. He wants to shoot a cannon into the crater. But the crater is down way below. Isn't the cannon just going to fly over the crater?
Nah, he's going to aim it better this time.
But it's shooting horizontally.
He's going to aim it better. Couple degrees down.
Why would Sephiroth need this energy?
He doesn't, but Hojo's a good dad, so he's going to give him the energy anyway.
Why didn't Shinra have some sort of failsafe that could lock out the Shinra gun from being taken over by some crazy maniac?
The entire staff is crazy maniacs that would lock it out from anyone using it ever. Why anything? Why is it that when you fight Hojo, he starts out as a regular person, and then he becomes some sort of weird, twisted abomination, then he becomes like a floating thing?
I get that he said, I injected myself with
Genova cells.
But then, didn't you also need to be exposed by Mako energy in order to be like a Shinra mutant clone?
Well, no, just Genova cells. It's like the thing.
But wait, okay, so fuck, man. God damn this game. So Soldier are a collection of people that are all Sephiroth clones?
No, they've all been given Mako treatment. They've all been exposed to high levels of Lifestream and or Mako energy, and that makes them stronger. Some of them have been given Genova cells also. And having any Genova cells makes you potentially a Sephiroth clone. For all intents and purposes. It makes you have Genova powers.
So, Hojo keeps talking about how Cloud is a failed subject. He has Genova cells in him.
Yes, so it is within Cloud's range to become some sort of giant monster.
So why doesn't he?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Why doesn't Sephiroth just straight up take full, complete control of the character that has the ability of ending his plot?
I mean, he does.
But I mean, like, control him completely and turn him into Sephiroth.
Because Sephiroth is not, he is cocky. He thinks he doesn't need to do any of that. He thinks he's going to get away with all of it. So he's cocky and arrogant and just doesn't.
And then
you beat Hojo.
Well, you have to fight him like 3 times. There's one time where he's a green zombie monster, and then he's like this giant eldritch demon, and then he's like some weird robot mummy?
Yeah, something like that.
I thought the weird eldritch demon, like, whatever it was, like Hail Hojo, was actually harder than the weird mummy robot. I don't know. I don't know, man. There's a ton of dialogue right after this because... Oh, no, wait. So, Hojo, you get like one line of dialogue where he says like, "Oh, the reason why I'm doing this is I'm Sephiroth's dad." It's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I knocked up my wife and injected Genova cells, and then a baby popped out and was Sephiroth. Like, okay. Why'd you do that?
Science!
Science!
I wanted to science.
Why are you so confident that shooting this... Science! I'm helping Sephiroth. I'm helping Sephiroth, and I'm shooting this gun that's going to just blow up and it's going to kill me.
Full of science. They use science in the magical way that that Aperture Science uses the word science in Portal games. It's pretty great.
I think the boss battle with Hojo is kind of cool. I think the design for Hojo is actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
The second design where he's like an actual mutant is cool.
But he still has glasses.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Like weird, like the glasses actually get as big as his body. Like what the fuck? Like it's
Genova cells in the glasses. Genova cells are in the glasses.
Okay, so there's after that.
You go to North Crater and
you have the weird fucking scene where everyone has to find the reason why they want to be in this journey.
Oh right, and then Cloud.
And this is a weird fucking scene because we already know why all of these characters are here. We already know that Barrett has a daughter. Yuffie wants to see Wutai go back to its glory
and rob you.
And Red 13 because Budahagen tells him to. Kate Sith
wants to atone for his crimes as a Shinra
Does he?
Executive, kinda.
Does the game ever actually explicitly state that?
Something like that.
Sid's already gone to space. Why is he on this thing?
I don't know. He's science. He wants to.
Vincent's always been an asshole. Why is he still here?
He's gonna die anyway, so he might as well die.
There are actually
fighting.
weird moments where like Vincent's kind of funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got those signs of dialogues because you can talk to your crew like every single time you finish a set piece, and like there are weird times where like Vincent is cracking jokes.
Yeah, the best line in this game, as far as I'm concerned, is when you have Vincent in your party to rescue Yuffie and Elena in Wutai, and he says, "I don't care about what you're doing so much as the stupid way in which you're doing it." It's the best line in the game.
And then it kind of like places into question why they depict Vincent as this like gruff emo dude.
Because he likes the Cure.
He's not even like always a gruff emo dude. He's just kind of like an ineffectual, like, I've seen some shit, man. Just leave me alone. It's like, okay, that makes sense. And then for some reason, okay, here's why I think this scene is weird. Red 13 says, "Hey, we only have 7 more days until the meteor crashes into the planet." How do you know that? My grandfather said that. When did you talk to your fucking grandfather? And so we only have 7 days to prevent the apocalypse. So, Gino, what do we do for like 2 days?
I think Tifa and Cloud fuck?
They just go off and like have a weird romance scene.
I think they go underneath they park the Highwind, and then they go down to a little island or something, and they talk about how they want to be there for each other, and it's heavily implied that they go to Bone Town.
We only have 7 days until the meteor is going to destroy the universe.
When you go back in after they've been talking about the future and how they want to fight for each other, someone says, "Hey, Tifa, what's up?" She's like, "Oh, no, you saw us?" And you know what that implied to me? They were boning. That's what implied to me.
But we only have 7 days to save the planet. We spent 1 day boning.
Yep.
And here's the weirdest part is Cloud has before this like one of the most heavy-handed, "What are we fighting for?" Like I was literally thinking of that infamous scene from like Mega Man, like, "What am I fighting for?" Like, what we already know what we're fighting for. The planet's gonna end. But then each of the characters chime in with a different reason to save the planet, and none of them involve stopping a giant meteor from destroying all life as we know it.
Nope.
Like Cloud says, "For me, it's a personal feud. I'm fighting to get revenge on Sephiroth." It's like, but wait, buddy, there's a giant meteor that's going to kill us. You're just fighting to...
It's all
like
a personal score.
I want to beat Sephiroth and settle my path. But what about the giant meteor that's about to crash into the planet?
Fuck everyone else.
And then he's like, "I think we're all fighting for ourselves. I want you all to go away and then figure out why you're fighting." Real quick, I'm going to raise my hand, Cloud. There's a giant meteor that's going to crash into the planet, and if we don't do anything, we're going to die. We're all going to die. Can that be my reason?
Nope. Find a better one.
Sephiroth is the only reason why we're not able to stop this meteor. If we don't beat him, we're all dead.
No, find a better reason. I need like an esoteric reason. Like, maybe your child is sick and you want to see them get better. Maybe you just started a small business and you want to see it grow, get more customers. Like that kind of thing.
There's a giant meteor and like Sephiroth is stopping the meteor from going the other direction or disappearing.
No. You're not listening. You're not listening to me. You need to find true. Look, do you love someone?
Yeah, but
say it's for them. Say it's for them.
How about I say that I'm doing this to prevent this meteor from killing all of the people that I love?
Nope, too generic. We need personal anecdotes.
Okay, fine. I'm doing
Vincent,
it for my wife and children.
Okay,
Vincent's
great.
up. Okay, yep. Barrett's up. Hey, Barrett, what are you doing this for? Marlene. You're not doing it for the giant meteor? No,
And the
Marlene's
planet.
future.
And the planet.
But like, the only reason why all of these things are at risk is because a giant meteor is going to crash into our planet. How is no one able to see this?
They're so badass that they got nothing. They're not scared of death.
And then he talks to like 3 members of the cast and then asks them for these like reason why you're fighting. And then some of them are shit. Like, Tifa's only here. I want to be with Cloud.
Yeah.
And the scene before they go to Bone Town is actually a pretty good scene. I like how Cloud's looking in one direction and then Tifa's just looking into the distance. I actually think that was a really good scene. It's like, as we talked about earlier, them making the most out of their limited resources, because they don't have a lot of polygons to work with in terms of those faces, but man, they work with every single one of them. And like when Tifa's face goes down, she's like closing her eyes, and it's like, oh, she's deep in thought. And then, man, that scene was great.
Yep. And then you go to the North Crater. You actually do it. And you fight. The North Crater kind of sucks. There's a lot of tough monsters in there. You get a lot of good items, though. You split up. The people who don't go with you go down an
I have a
alternate
funny
path.
story about that. I didn't know that if you split up your party, that meant whoever you didn't pick, or wherever you go, those characters go with you.
Yep.
So here's what happened.
You picked the people who should have been in your party, and you sent them the other way.
Yeah, I did. So here's the fucked up thing. Well, first off, it turns out you probably shouldn't use that save crystal they give you at the very entrance, because it can kind of fuck up your game.
No, you don't want to do that. You want to use it like towards the bottom.
Yeah. Because there are apparently certain areas where if you use that crystal, it can actually cause the game to die.
Great.
Oh, there's one thing that we forgot. One thing before we talk about the Northern Crater, because I do have a lot of things. If you go to Cosmo Canyon, it turns out Bugenhagen is dying. And Red 13 has another scene where he has a character moment.
Oh, yeah. Right.
And it's like, why are you trying to get me invested in this shit character? So here's the bullshit thing. I sent all of the good characters to go one direction. I went in the opposite direction. And do you know what that meant? I had Red 13 and Kate Sith as my party members.
So you find it was the gangs all here.
So here's the dick move on the part of the game. You go to the bottom of the crater. You use the save crystal. It creates a save point. And apparently this is the only time where you reach a save point where you can't swap out your party members. And then that's when the game just fucking punched me in the gut. Because it meant I had to go all the way back to the high wind, just to be able to get the characters that I want to fight for the last boss battles.
I think they do give you an opportunity to change your party when you go down there, but I forget.
Fuck!
But did you just kill them all with Knights of the Round? Or Quad Magic plus Mime? Which broken combo?
I use Quadra Magic plus Mime. The Genova battle was weird.
I don't think she attacked me. I think I just used 3 or 4 summons, one after another, and she died before she got to do a move. So, I don't even know how weird it is.
It's this giant tentacle titty monster.
Yeah.
But hasn't Sephiroth cut apart Genova completely at this point?
He cut off her arms, so she doesn't have arms. She's like
it's not a hard battle with Genova. In fact, it's kind of pointless.
Easy. Yep.
Okay, so there's essentially 3 battles with Sephiroth, 1 battle with Genova. There's these giant armored dudes that fight you, but whatever. Yeah. 2 of these battles are pointless. The battle with Genova is pointless, and then the last battle with Sephiroth is a cinematic set piece. An awesome cinematic set piece, which we will talk about shortly, but it's not actually a battle. So you go. So killing Genova causes you to fall into the life stream?
Yeah, you fall to the center of the earth, and Sephiroth's in there, and he's
And
got holy, like, all wrapped up
the
in Genova
center of the
stuff.
earth is this weird blue ball of energy that's
That's
contained
holy.
by.
That's wholly wrapped up by Sephiroth, like Genova magics.
Okay.
So you're trying to free holy by killing Sephiroth.
And then Sephiroth like repels you and then has you floating in the air and doesn't use this power to kill you right then and there while you're just floating in the life stream. He just like, I'm not going to take advantage of me being able to control every fiber of your body. I'm just going to disappear so that you can get your party together and fight me.
Yeah, and so then you fight Bizarro Sephiroth, which is
Okay,
weird.
now here's the fucked up thing about Bizarro Sephiroth. You create two parties,
Oh, I
right?
didn't. I fought him as one party.
Oh, I had the opportunity to create two parties.
Did you do it? What
I did
happens?
create two parties. I didn't realize what that meant.
What does it mean? I've never seen that.
Oh, it means that essentially if one party dies, you just immediately swap to the next. But I didn't know that. So every single time that you beat one part of Bizarro Sephiroth, you have the option of saying, hey, well, okay, the bottom of the screen says, hey, do you care about how your other party is doing? It's like, yeah, I do. I want to see how they're doing. Worried about the, okay, here's what it said. Worried about the other members of the party? And it says, yeah, a little. And then the other prompt is, no, not really. And guess what happens when you say, yeah, a little?
You swap to them?
You swap to that other party that has zero materia, zero equipment. You swap to that other party. I just thought, hey, maybe this means that I could like talk to them, or it says worried about the other members. Why? That's fucked up.
It's a bad translation.
That's a bad fucking translation. At least for some reason, Barrett had his limit break, and I was able to destroy one part of Bizarro Sephiroth, and then I was able to go back to my other party, because otherwise, I was boned. Bizarro Sephiroth. Is this Sephiroth that we're fighting?
It's so this is where it's super unclear because it's I guess it's important to mention up until this point, Final Fantasy games, final bosses are usually these multi-stage ridiculous creatures that compared to other enemies in the game have these ludicrously big sprites
Yeah.
that bear no resemblance to what they looked like when they were in the normal overworld.
I've
And
heard yeah, I've heard about this. I heard that the most notorious one is Final Fantasy VI.
Yes, it's like this gigantic thing that bears no resemblance to what the character looked like. And so I think 7 is the game where they did not get the transition yet. They didn't quite understand what to
How to
do
do
in
that with
polygonal
3D
space.
polygonal
Yeah.
sprites.
So in 8, they kind of make it work by starting with Ultimecia, and then she summons something, and then she fuses with that thing, and then that she dies and then is reborn as this kind of larger than life creature. Whereas in Final Fantasy VII, you just cut from Sephiroth to Bizarro Sephiroth with no explanation of what the hell happened, and then you cut from Bizarro Sephiroth to Safer Sephiroth or Seraph, like the Angel Sephiroth, which again looks nothing like Sephiroth's other than like kind of the hair, and it's huge.
It took me like 10 minutes to figure out actually how you are meant to beat Bizarro Sephiroth. You have to defeat like all of these body parts. But then also he has healing magic and those parts can heal up and then you have to kill them all over again.
Yeah, I killed it, I think, through luck. I just kept blasting it with spells until he died.
Which works. Um, so this weird monster is Sephiroth.
Yes, that is Sephiroth.
That's the real Sephiroth. It's not like the earlier battles or scenes with Sephiroth, which that was just a clone.
Yes, he's
This
the
is
real
actually
Sephiroth. Yes, the real Sephiroth. All the other Sephiroths are just imitating. Won't the real Sephiroth please stand up? And it's Bizarro Sephiroth.
okay. And so when you defeat Bizarro Sephiroth, he doesn't actually die,
No, he then transforms into Safer Sephiroth.
which then leads us to
dun, 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 and then it's One Winged Angel.
which is one of the greatest themes I've ever heard my entire life. Here's the funny thing. I did not know what One Winged Angel was until now.
You just knew
And
that song. You didn't
I
know
knew
what it was from.
that's the funny thing. I knew that song, and I will tell you, I used that song in a college project without knowing where it came from.
Great.
I knew what the song was called, One Winged Angel, but it's like, this is just some bullshit. Like my friend recommended, hey, why don't we use this song that I have? And then it was actually, the project was, I know this is a tangent, we were using Legos to retell the Iliad.
Great.
And so it opened with these Legos, like the actual scene in Troy with the Trojan horse, with dunt, 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 da 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 da. And then it was like, yeah, that actually works. That sounds like an actual battle theme, like beating the drum, the dunt, 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 dunt sounds like beating the war drums.
And then the chorus comes in. And you need to understand
Sephiroth.
that song was one of the first songs in gaming history to have, or in PC, like console gaming history, to have actual lyrics.
Do you want to know the first example? Because I played this game.
Tamba? Is it Tamba?
No, it was the Commodore 64. I mean, you could actually say that it's like Berserk, where like Evil Otto is like threatening to kill you. In terms of an actual song, the C64, or like the early PC version of Neuromancer, played a Devo song called Some Things Never Change. And then it's actually like, look it up, C64 Neuromancer. It's actually Devo.
Huh.
It's actually really fun. But no, yeah, you're right. I was not prepared for this early 90s era song to have actual lyrics in it.
And it's actually orchestrally composed. Like, it holds up to this day.
It holds up, and the weird thing is, it almost seems like it's of a higher fidelity than any of the music you've listened to.
It, in fact, is.
It is?
It is. It is orchestrated. It has actual lyrics. I think
the rest of the music sounds like MIDI
It
files.
is MIDI. The rest is MIDI.
That's insane. So disc 3 is actually not that long, but they use up all of that space for CGI cutscenes
and music.
So wait, this game was on the PlayStation 1, Final Fantasy VIII was on the PlayStation 1, and 9 was on the PlayStation 1.
Yes.
So we go from 7, One Winged Angel, to Eyes on Me, and then there's also a song in 9 that has lyrics, right?
Melodies of Life.
Which you keep sending me links to, and I'm not going to click those because I'm not going to spoil myself.
I haven't sent you links to that.
Okay, well, whatever.
Might be someone else.
Oh no, you sent me a link to the Pepsi commercial or a Coca-Cola commercial for Final Fantasy IX.
Yes, I think I might have done that. That sounds like something I'd do. But yeah.
So One Winged Angel is amazing. And here's another weird thing. While I never knew the context, but people kept sending me links to One Winged Angel. And I started playing and was like, hey, this is pretty cool. I wonder when this is going to pop up. And my mom was listening to me. And I think I've told you this story, but I haven't told everyone else. But my mom heard me as I was playing that music, and she started dancing to it. And then when the song was over, my mom told me, hey, give me a file to that. I'll use it in my next Jazzercise class.
Yes.
So my mom has a Jazzercise routine for One Winged Angel now.
That's outstanding. It's
like I don't have the heart to tell her that it's like for this nerdy JRPG from like the PlayStation 1. She just thinks that it's awesome music.
Great.
And she has this dancing routine for it.
Nailed it.
So now Final Fantasy has officially contaminated my family.
Great. This has worked out the best possible way.
So the music is great, and I actually think that Safer Sephiroth looks cool.
So that interpretation is the iconic interpretation of Sephiroth with the one wing and his body's basically human, but he's got this angel wing.
Yeah.
But every other interpretation of him since Final Fantasy VII
is the Nibelheim scene, or that version of
No, he looks like a person, but he has one wing like an angel.
Yeah.
But he's otherwise a normal dude for the most part. Maybe like one of his arms is like black or something, but he otherwise is a normal dude. Versus this one where he is like in the bottom half, he's got more wings and like he doesn't have legs.
Yeah.
And so it's a really weird design that they kind of took the essence of it and have carried it forward. And it turns out the essence of it is he has a wing.
Yeah. I like how Sephiroth talks about how he wants to become this god, and he's already kind of this god. So why does he need Meteor in order to become this god?
I don't know, but then did you get to see his summon magic or like his
Oh man, yeah, it took
magic?
like a minute. It was like, so he destroys the solar system.
He does.
And it's like, wait, so does that mean that the world of Final Fantasy VII takes place in our universe?
Yeah, he blows up Mars, he blows up Venus, he blows up Jupiter and Saturn,
And he
then
shoots a laser beam into the sun,
and then the sun destroys
blows
Mercury.
up. So he kills us.
Yes.
He killed us.
I love that move. That might be the stupidest animation in a game with a lot of stupid animations. Like Eden's pretty dumb, but there's nothing quite as dumb as shooting the sun, causing the sun to expand, and then you see it comes back to the battlefield and you see like the sun slowly getting closer to you, and then you just take some damage and the game goes on.
It doesn't actually kill you. It takes a percentage of your. I think it like takes out 7/8 of your health.
I thought it just reduces you to 1 HP, but
yeah, that's right.
But it just takes so long, and the implications, if that was actually what had happened, is just so preposterous that the animation clearly doesn't have any basis in what's supposed to be happening in the battle. Ugh. And then you kill him because that fight's not hard.
No, that fight's not actually hard. Say for Sephiroth is more of a set piece rather than an actual
Difficult boss.
difficult boss. And in fact, you could even argue that there are bosses that are far harder than Sephiroth.
Like carry armor.
Or some of the earlier bosses from Disc 1.
But then you get the cool scene where Cloud cuts him up like Chop Suey. So, funny story. You know so after you defeat Sephiroth, Cloud has kind of like a moment where he's, I guess, at war with himself again. Like it's unclear.
Yeah, I didn't really get why he's at war with himself once he's defeated Safer Sephiroth.
It's unclear whether he is
being manipulated or.
Well, I thought it's unclear whether the final battle with Sephiroth is a battle inside of Cloud's head with the piece of Sephiroth that is controlling him and manipulating him. If that's just a fight in his head, like a mental thing, or if it's an actual fight between him and Sephiroth. I think it's probably it's a mental struggle because it's kind of in this black environment where there's no other characters. For me, so what happens is you just get your limit break immediately as soon as that fight starts, and you're supposed to just immediately use it. I actually got attacked by Sephiroth because I didn't input the command fast enough, and Cloud counterattacked and killed him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So basically, you cannot lose that battle with Sephiroth.
No, but I was going to put in the Omni Slash command, and Cloud he didn't even have counter materia. He just counterattacked and killed him.
I've heard that this is sometimes a thing where there's actually maybe a cinematic boss battle that's inconsequential in terms of its difficulty in Final Fantasy.
Yeah, that happens.
Okay, that happens.
That'll happen sometimes.
Or sometimes the boss pops out of nowhere, like 9.
Well, we'll see. I'll have an explanation.
You didn't have an explanation when I last talked to you.
I'll have one. That's because I didn't want to spoil stuff.
Okay. So, does Cloud jump into the live stream in order to have this Omni-Slash battle, the Omni-Slash battle with Sephiroth?
I don't think he jumps into the live stream on purpose. I mean, they're in it when they're down in North Crater.
So if you're like me, you did Omni-Slash, you defeat Sephiroth, and then he just bursts into energy?
Yeah. And Cloud, he's free.
He's free.
And then
the next couple of cutscenes are actually really weird. They're CGI, and faces animate as if they're talking,
Yeah.
but they don't have the audio files, or they didn't have the technology to actually do real voice acting.
So it's captions.
So it's captions, like an actual silence film, like a black and white old school film.
And Sid's
But they
cigarette falls
actually
out of his mouth.
they do animate them to suggest that they are talking. And I thought that was hilarious.
It was great. I forgot that happens.
So Cloud is in the live stream and he sees a hand, and that hand actually turns out to be Tifa, right?
Yeah, she pulls you out.
Pulls you out, but then like there's an earthquake.
And Cloud has to save her, and they escape. And then
They all realize, oh shit, we're stuck in this giant crater and there's a giant earthquake that's going to kill us all.
Then they escape.
They escape.
The high wind comes and gets them.
Oh, Sid says the S. Sid said shit.
He does. He says
he does.
Shit. No.
This is rated T for teen, right?
Yep. Rated F
That's
for
actually,
fun.
That is actually, if you were like many people who bought this game when you had your first PlayStation 1, that might have been the first swear in a video game you've ever experienced.
Yep. And then Final Fantasy VIII curses all over the place.
Yeah, well, I mean, chicken wuss, that's like...
They say bastard, I think, once or twice.
Yeah. And what happens next is actually kind of confusing. Holy gets summoned, but it's not quite working.
It's not strong enough to stop Meteor, and then the life stream bursts out at, I think, like,
so
Eris.
The planet decides that, no, wait, you humans, I should protect you, so I'm going to give you my life stream to get rid of the meteor.
Well, the planet, Bugenhagen says that Holy gets rid of all threats to the planet, and then he's like, oh, what will humans be? And so then the life stream bursts out, and it stops the meteor, and then it just cuts to the far future where it's Red 13.
No, here's the weird thing. Well, we are going to talk about that in a little bit. The live stream comes out, the meteor is being broken up, cuts to Eris's face, then credits.
Yeah.
Then you go through the credits, and then you see Red 13 with his kids, and he runs up, and there's Midgard, but completely dilapidated. So, did Holy actually kill all humans?
It's unclear. I guess we know from Advent
now
Children.
We know that, like, fucking...
And Dirge of Cerberus.
But could you I can't imagine being, like, someone who played this game at first, and it's like, oh, wait, no, humans were actually... Wait, were humans the bad guys all along?
Yep.
And then
credits. And then you learned that every single one of these mini games was created by a separate team.
By a different team. So, real quick, let's put some people on blast. Okay, snowboard section. Tadami Michi Obanada and Daiko Komatsu and Jun Akiyama. Go fuck yourself. You made the snowboard game.
Oh, no.
Okay, the Condor missions. Ryo Muto and Hiroyuki Yotsui, as well as Kazuchio Yohioka. You made the Fort Condor missions. Go fuck yourself. Chocobo Racing. Hiroki Chiba, Ryotaro Takahashi, and Kitaro Aidachi. Go fuck yourself. You made the Chocobo Racing. I had to say this. I just had to get this out of my chest.
That's fire. I didn't know we were going to
500, 500 years later. So the game kind of suggests that Holy actually assessed human beings as being evil and killed them.
Potentially.
But then Square Enix realized how big of a hit this game was in the United States and then started to make a multimedia franchise 10 years after the fact.
Yep. And then you got Dirge of Cerberus, you got Crisis Core, and you got
supposedly good.
Before Crisis.
Is Before Crisis the weird mobile game?
Yeah, that's the weird mobile game with the Turks.
Mm.
I would say Crisis Core, you should see the final fight. So Crisis Core raises as many questions as it answers. It basically, you follow Zack and his story, and you meet like the person who originally had the Buster Sword,
Oh,
Cloud's sword.
because I really wanted to know the history behind the Buster Sword.
Yeah, you learn the
So
histories behind the Buster Sword, and there's a lot more people with fucking angel wings and
what? Really? What? No, what?
crazy shit like
But
that.
like the only reason why Sephiroth had those was because he was in the live stream. Are there actually angel people?
Well, it's people with Genova cells get to have
Wait,
angel
how
things.
fucking what? There's more Sephiroths?
There's more people like Sephiroth, more first class soldiers that have frickin' Genova cells in them.
Then there's Advent Children, which is
Advent
not a
Children,
good
which is
movie.
bad. But the scene where Zack dies is incredible. It's probably the best thing Final Fantasy VII has ever done
What, really? The scene from a video game?
from the prequel. I would say that that Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core, the last sequence in that game, is better than anything in 7 proper.
Mm,
It is much better to
better than
play and to
Eris's
see.
death?
Yes.
Better than Dyne and Barrett?
Do you want me to tell you what it is?
No, I gotta look this up.
You should watch it. It doesn't communicate everything because some of it is like playing it, but it's pretty freaking incredible. I actually can't remember most of that game. The only thing I remember is that last sequence.
Okay, so when we first started this podcast, I posed a question to you that we are now going to answer. The big question is, should people like me, with very little investment in Final Fantasy, play Final Fantasy VII?
Yes, but purely as a historical odyssey.
So is it purely as a historical odyssey? You're condemning them to minigames and weird pacing and weird anime shit?
I think if you consider yourself a student of games, you should play this game because it explains so much of where JRPGs went for the next 10 to 20 years. They have been chasing.
Okay, as someone who's followed JRPGs or played them far more than me, tell me how or what that influence is.
It is a relentless focus on technical excellence. This is especially Square Enix. It is a relentless focus on technical excellence, high fidelity graphics, and lengthy cutscenes, and extreme focus on things like soundtrack, at the expense of, too many cases, the systems, the gameplay systems that were kind of the backbone of these games, and also some of the quirkier charms that these earlier games had. So they have been kind of chasing this high fidelity nonsense and crazy cutscenes.
They've been chasing
ever
this
since.
dragon that I don't think they'll ever catch up to.
No, because I think there are elements of the PS1 Final Fantasy games that they don't understand that they were good parts of those games. Like, I don't think they understand that the overworld is a thing that matters in these games.
Because they basically took that out after...
They took that out after 9. 9's the last one. I don't think that they understood that kind of the crazy chibi characters had a charm and they weren't just a hindrance.
Yeah.
I think that they didn't understand that the turn-based combat system is actually it's wildly accessible compared to some of the other combat systems that they've come up with. And so, having played these games with other people, they are good games for playing with someone who has not played a lot of games before, versus some of the later games in these series where I don't like Final Fantasy XIII. It auto plays, and then it's like a weird combat management game, and Final Fantasy XII has like MMO combat, and you have to worry about camera controls. Like, there's a whole lot of things that you just have to worry about with those other games. And even though there are some accessibility issues with Final Fantasy VII, just design-wise, like how the fuck are you supposed to know where to get that key, the ancient key, or how are you supposed to know that you're supposed to get the keystone from this random place? Like, those are archaic. But some of the elements of their design in terms of combat, in terms of dialogue, actually hold up to modern standards. Like, I think that the overworld is a useful construct that games have abandoned to their own detriment. And so Final Fantasy VII, I think in the analysis of this game, they focus so much on the spectacle and, frankly, the Joseph Campbell monomyth as guiding structure that I think that they do a disservice to what these games could be. And going through like the monomyth,
you're drinking that Kool-Aid that I keep bringing up.
I mean, it's not that much of a Kool-Aid. Call to Adventure, that's the first sequence.
To every single one of these games, yeah.
Refusal of call, that's when Tifa says, hey, Cloud, you should join Avalanche, and he's like, nah. Supernatural aid, that's when Zack talks to him in his head.
Yep.
Crossing the threshold, that's when he joins Avalanche. Belly of the whale, that's when he's blowing up the second reactor.
Yep.
And stuff gets crazy. Road of Trials, as soon as they leave Midgar and they go to all these different towns.
Yeah, they go to Calm, or they have to leave Midgar, or the you could even argue the motorcycle chase sequence, or breaking out of Shinra was that.
There's a bunch of them. Meeting with the goddess. Eris is older than him.
Is the goddess, is basically,
yes.
Yeah.
Eris is, it says, the experience should be with like an older woman, and Eris is 1 year older than Cloud, and Cloud's mom says you should date an older woman. I think that someone that would take care of you would be good for you. So yeah,
it follows a structure. It follows a very good structure. And here's what I would say: 8 does not follow that structure and made it way harder to follow.
Sure. Temptation. That's, I guess, it could be Tifa. It could be the temptation for Cloud to leave the journey.
I was always thinking that it was Sephiroth tempting Cloud to become like just this clone, or like succumbing to Sephiroth's deceit.
And then atonement with the father is atonement with Sephiroth and figuring out what the heck's going on. Apostasis.
Apostasis, yeah.
Then that's Cloud dies and goes into the fucking life stream and then gets called back.
It's also called the long journey or the night journey.
Makes sense. Then there's the ultimate boon. That's when he comes back and they figure out what the hell they need to do. And then kind of the refusal of return, magic flight, rescue from without, crossing the return threshold, master of two worlds, freedom to live. That's all the final sequences, depending on how you want to interpret them. But it hits every one of those freaking beats.
Yeah.
And then I guess the only other question we have to answer is...
Wait, no, I want to actually provide my interpretation to what you are. I would say in terms of my recommendation, I do have a positive recommendation for Final Fantasy VII. There's a slight addendum to that. My recommendation is for Final Fantasy VII, I think every single person should try to play this game at least once in their life. And once you hit your first wall, try to get through it. And then when you hit your second wall, I give you permission to walk away.
That's fair. Because a lot of the good things about this game are things that... It's mostly incredible that they were able to do it in the time period. It only really hits its mark a couple times.
Yeah, which is also a big question that Square is going to have to answer when they try to make this remake. Like, do you get rid of all these stupid minigames?
No, they get the SSX Tricky Team, and they pull them in, and they say, make the best snowboarding game.
Do you also... Like, what would the Golden Saucer look like in... Do you also... Like, I guess you could say, like I said, some of these sequences, some of these moments in this game are going to be easy fixes. Like the motorcycle chase sequence. You could even say chocobos. Man, fucking how many people, like dozens of people have used chocobos to ride on. Easy fix. Easy fix for chocobo racing. You can make like a stadium, whatever. But like, what about the scene where we were using a dolphin to fling ourselves up to the top of Junon Harbor?
High fidelity dolphin.
Are we gonna... Is that really...
That's what you want. You want high fidelity dolphins.
What are we gonna do with the Honeybee Inn?
It's not gonna be in the game.
God, man. Fuck, man. What about Don Corneo?
He's gonna be in it. He has to be.
There are parts of this game that screamed the 1990s. And I don't know, I don't, I understand, like, all these Final Fantasy fans that are always like, why don't they remake 7? Because it's such a product of its time. It screams such a product of its time. It's
And
one thing to translate 6 and 4 to mobile platforms, or even like give them 3D polygonal sprites for the DS version. But man,
and the things that people liked about 7 were the fact that it was their first exposure to this type of game at all. So it's not necessarily that this was even the best possible introduction to JRPGs and their storytelling and their tropes. It's just that it was the one for so many people.
so I have to ask, did you play any of the 2D Final Fantasy games
Yes, I played.
before this?
I played
Before 7
5.
and 8.
I played 5
So, what was that transition like to move from
or
2D
1.
to the 3D Final
Um,
Fantasy games? What did those 3D games sacrifice that was in the 2D games?
so when I played 5, I think it was 5. I played it at a friend's house and he owned it, so I did not complete those games. But the big changes, there weren't a lot of sacrifices from a gameplay perspective. They just went in a different direction. Like all of the Final Fantasy games up until 7 really had that archetype, those character
I've
archetypes,
heard
except for
that,
2.
I've heard that also from a story perspective, they are mostly, other than 4 and 6, most Final Fantasy games were very simple in
Yes.
terms of a story.
They're
And
very
4 and
simple.
6 are maybe the only exceptions.
They're all focused on crystals. Like narratively, they have the same themes repeating over and over and over again. And they had very similar like the combat was turn-based, and ever since 1, I think they were active time battle. But here's your black mage, here's your white mage, and then you're playing around with those kind of archetypes.
Yeah.
7 does away with a lot of that stuff. And so
Yeah, there's not even magic. That you got rocks.
yeah. So 7 modernized in that way, but it didn't completely break from tradition. And like I said, there are a lot of times in 7 where you can feel that they wanted to make it like a NES game or a Super NES game, but they didn't know how to translate it yet. Like the final bosses looking like what a sprite would look like on a SNES, except they didn't do the work to actually explain why the hell this polygonal thing would look like this.
Yeah.
So I think that there wasn't so much sacrifice as it was that game is a weird mediary between 8 and 9 looked like they were made for an entirely different console. And to some extent they were.
Yeah.
But this actually, I think, gets to our last segment, which
Okay.
is
Ranking of fantasies.
ranking of fantasies, which is better, 7 or 8. Now, I want to read to you what I said when I declared Final Fantasy IX the best PlayStation Final Fantasy in a blog I did a couple of years ago.
Okay.
I said Final Fantasy VII is not the best PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy. Just stop it. A
Okay.
ton of the writing in that game does not hold up. Cloud is a pretty flat character whose defining characteristic is not remembering things. Sephiroth is overrated. He just goes from an ordinary soldier to a psycho killer way too abruptly. The materia system is fine, but 8 and 9 have combat systems that are equal to or greater than 7's. I'm not a huge graphics person, but 8 and 9 look like they were made for a different system in a different generation than 7. And considering 7 was originally an N64 game, I suppose they were. In short, 7 is the most iconic Final Fantasy game of the PS1 era, largely by virtue of it being the first Final Fantasy game of the PS1 era. It is by no means the best, and if you think it's the best, try to play it again and see how much your nostalgia holds up. What do you think with that analysis?
I think even you have come around to some of those claims.
Yes, I think Cloud is not as flat as
Oh no, there's
remember.
dimensions. And also you cited 8 against 7, which we are about to get to task 2. And there are aspects of 7 that I think blow 8 out of the goddamn water. So, let's start first and foremost. Main character. We got Cloud versus Sephiroth.
You mean
Cloud
Squall.
versus Squall.
Cloud wins.
Cloud. Better. We're going to put this down. I'm actually creating a T-chart right here. So we have better Main character.
Yep. Squall sucks.
He doesn't justify
His existence.
his existence ever. He's a whiny brat. He's a whiny brat when he's young. Okay. Secondary cast, or actually, party cast. We have Barrett. We've got Tifa. We got Eris. She dies. We got Red 13. We got all these characters. And then we have the cast of
8, which is a
8.
bunch of fucking lunatics.
So, I think 7 has the better cast. Are you in agreement?
I agree. I agree.
The cast is better.
Yep, I agree. Though, I think... Okay, I'll say my piece in a different segment, I think.
Now, I was going to say...
Combat.
8
is way better.
8... Okay, here's the... I'm going to maybe argue in favor of 7, but I'm still open. Again, this is a scientific process. If the evidence is strong, I will argue in favor of 8. 8 doesn't fucking explain itself. And if you don't figure out 8, you're going to have a bad time.
That's true. But once you figure out 8...
But that wall is high.
But once you figure it out, it's beautiful.
And that wall to 7 is low.
The wall is low, but the options are low too. Like you said, the difficulty in 7 doesn't so much peak because the battles are hard. It's because your options are strapped. And at a certain point, you just need to frickin' grind levels so that you can bash your head against these monsters. 8 doesn't have any of that. 8's like, what if you never level up ever?
But is that really, like, we had this discussion earlier, was that really the intent of 8?
Who cares? It's so much more fun. You can have a character whose only job is to eat dudes.
Okay. I have a proposal. What if we say on 7's side, straightforward combat?
Okay.
And then on 8, we say funner combat.
Yes, funner. It is the art house film of combat systems.
Okay, so it's
postmodern.
But you would at least give 7 credit and say that it is more straightforward.
I guess. In that junctioning materia into slots is not as obtuse as the junction system.
Okay, and then straight up, I just realized this. We're going to put Triple Triad on 8 because it has a minigame that's worth a fuck and is actually fun to play.
It's better than any minigame in 7.
Okay, so do we want to just put Triple Triad or do we want to put in no minigames? No shitty minigames.
Both. I think those are both check marks in 8's favor.
No shitty minigames.
No forced shitty minigames, except for that stupid fighting the Galbadian soldier.
Oh, that thing was so bad.
That was so bad, but that's once. That happens once.
Here's something that we're gonna... I think I could foresee you arguing against it. But I'm gonna argue in favor of 7. No Eyes on Me. Yeah, no pop song.
I don't know about that.
Mm.
Did you ever know I had my eyes on you?
So no, wait, fuck, man. Which game has the better music?
I think it's 8. I don't think it's that. Like, I think 7 has some bangers. I think Eris theme. I think One Winged Angel is really good.
I mean...
but I think 8 on the whole is just a
so we're
better
going to just,
soundtrack.
Eyes on Me even included, we're going to say better music on 8.
I think so. I mean, I think the FH music is really good. The world music, I think, is better for 8.
But I think One Winged Angel is better than Ultimecia's theme.
Ooh, I agree. I think it's much more iconic. I do like the weird distorted soundtrack when you're fighting the final version of Ultimecia. I like it a whole lot, but...
Okay.
I mean, you can't really beat...
So right now, it's not looking good for 7. We got 3 on 7, 4 on 8, but here's one more thing. Orphanage scene. Okay, literally, which game has the better plot twist?
They're both pretty dumb. I mean, they both make very little sense.
I would say
7 makes more sense, I guess.
7 more. Okay, how about this? We'll write down story makes sense.
Sure. What if?
No, I don't feel comfortable because I asked all these questions about Sephiroth clones and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense. I think it might make. Let me
I
put it to
think
you this way. I have basic questions about the mechanics of what the hell's going on in 7 that I don't have with 8. Whereas with 8, I understand what's going on. I just find it profoundly stupid.
so. Would you? Okay, how about this? How about in 7 we write less stupid?
Yeah, less stupid, but there's just some questions like, how come Sephiroth can move through things here, but here he's like a giant man? What's going on? Versus 8, it's like, why would you ever write a story where the goal is to smoosh time into one
Okay,
time period?
does
Why is there
7
mind control
or
everywhere?
8 have the better romance subplot?
I think 8 does, and that's the only thing 8 does right.
But it's so bad when it's bad.
But it's so good when it's good.
But the scenes that you have with Tifa and Eris are so good.
But the scene where they play the concert,
Oh my god. Are you actually going to highlight the concert
where
scene
they
as a
got the
positive?
concert by
Oh
the
my
porno
god. I
mag.
can't believe
They
I'm
use the
talking to you
porno
right
mag,
now.
and there's a concert,
You're in the Ragnarok in space, and then
and then the
as we
music kicks
descend
in.
into space, she's sitting in your lap. Just getting the full G-force into her body as she's
Yep,
sitting in your lap.
yep, that's pretty great. And then you find each other floating in this ethereal plane in the middle
Oh
of
god.
space time.
The worst. Um, I don't think either of these games have a good romance plot.
Believe that GameSpot for Valentine's Day in either 2006 or 2007 named Final Fantasy VIII the greatest romance in a video game. I'm,
Man, they were fucking wrong in a
I'm
way
not
that
making that up.
oh god. I I liked how in 7 who you went and romance was not forced upon you with a spoon with every turn of the game.
Sure,
Okay, how about this? 7 gets credit, no forced romance.
fine. Yeah, I'll give them credit for that. The romance is more organic, but I would say 8 gets credit for being balls to the fucking wall with it. They went all in.
All in. Romance.
Hearts, hearts everywhere. And
Um,
question: should best villain be a category?
yes.
It because I would say that Sephiroth and Ultimecia, even though they keep saying Sephiroth over and over and over again, he is as much of a frickin' ethereal thing that only shows up at the end of the game to make sense as Ultimecia is.
But here's the deal. At least Sephiroth is built up as a character, whereas Ultimecia doesn't even become the villain until like disc 3.
Sure, that's fair enough. I'd say Sephiroth is probably better as a villain.
You would actually agree that Sephiroth is a better villain.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I think Sephiroth is far better. Ultimecia is cool, I guess. She possesses.
You know what? You know what I just realized? And it's not going to change anything because we already put better music. Ultimecia's theme has that real good, like, metal rock guitar riff.
Yeah, it does.
I think Ultimecia has better music. Okay.
I agree. I was going to give you One Winged Angel just because it's so freaking iconic, but I don't actually like One Winged Angel all that much.
So let's just put as a like side note Vox
Personally.
music.
Yeah, I like One Winged Angel because I think it.
Well, it's used all the time.
Yeah, it's used all the time, and it's a sound that you don't usually get out of games. This big, at the time, you did not get these big orchestral things.
Okay.
But
What is the best scene in Final Fantasy VIII?
you're throwing scare quotes around that one, right?
Yes.
It's got to be either
Best.
the orphanage scene or the scene with the rock concert.
I would argue the rock concert has a rock concert.
Has a rock concert. The president is Laguna. Laguna.
Okay, yep. And then the best scene in 7 has to be Eris's death.
Yep. Eris getting
I mean-
stabbed in the chest.
Eris death is important. Okay.
Okay, so
Um,
what does the science say?
I feel like there's more that we can do. Um,
What about secondary villains? Turks
sec-
versus
Turks.
Cypher and his boys.
Oh, Cypher is definitely better than Turks. I don't know.
And
Would
I
you
think,
agree?
yeah, and I think Galbadia is probably
And then also, I feel like Cypher does more to actually impede the progress of the protagonist and is much more proactive, whereas the Turks, they're just fucking around.
yeah, I would say Cypher versus like Raijin and Fujin are the Turks, and then Cypher is kind of Rufus, and they almost have the same design, so it wouldn't be that surprising that comparison.
Okay.
I like Cypher better than Rufus, and I like Raijin and Fujin better than the Turks. I think. Actually, no. If it was Raijin and Fujin versus the Turks, I like the Turks better. But I like Cypher better than Rufus.
I like Cypher better than Rufus. The Turks, man, the Turks have really good theme music though.
They do, and I
When it
just like
plays in, it's like, I just want to not click the X button and I just want to listen to this music real quick.
I like that they're regular people, the
Mm.
Turks. Like the two Raijin and Fujin are cartoon characters.
Which game do you think has the better ending?
I like eight's ending a
I
whole
like
lot.
Seven's ending because it's not just them fucking around in the garden.
I like eight's ending because it has three endings, and they go on forever, and they're insane.
But then okay, here's the problem with 8 is it has its ending
And then it has another one.
and then it keeps going and then has an ending and then it keeps going.
What about that part where Squall's head has a hole in it? Or that part where the garden flies over Rain's grave, and that's really sad. And then Zell almost chokes to death. That game ends so many times. Most ending.
Okay, but here's the other thing. I don't I was going to bring up like which game has better pacing, but I don't want to give either video game credit.
Don't give either of them an award.
Neither of them have good pacing.
Best
Um,
best levels. I would say 8 has better levels. Other than the ancient village, I mean,
well,
ancient
here
capital.
was something that I had written down: set design or art design. I think 7 has more variety
What?
in art design, and 8 is basically kind of like the same fantasy backdrop over and over again. You
Esthar.
spend so much time in the
FH.
towns.
Esthar. Dowling
spend-
City looks nothing like Timber.
Dude, Midgar is the single greatest, most fully realized world in
Yeah.
either of these games.
That's true. Midgar is better than anything in 8. I would agree with that.
So I'm going to write down Midgar
Okay.
is awesome, or
Yep.
is good.
Yep. Midgar is good.
And then,
I would say Ultimisia's castle is better than any of the dungeons in
okay,
7.
let's go with variety. Level variety on 8.
It's pretty good. It's got
Okay.
a lot of variety.
So, Ragnarok versus Highwind.
I like the Ragnarok. It's a spaceship.
Yeah, I would normally agree with you, but who pilots the Ragnarok?
It's a great question. We'll never know.
Hey, no, there is an answer.
Is it Selphie?
Yes,
Fuck.
Selphie pilots the Ragnarok. Okay, how about this? Instead
Fine,
of
it can be
doing
the Highwind.
Ragnarok versus Highwind, because the Highwind, I like the design of the Highwind. I like how it's more steampunkian.
I like the term steampunkian.
I like the set how the set design of 7 is steampunk inspired. And then
8 doesn't know what
has
it wants.
no fucking set design or cohesive design at all.
8 wants it all.
Like, it's not steampunk, it's not medieval like 9, it's not a virtual reality world. It's not like post-apocalypse.
It's all of
It's
them.
not feudalism. I'm going to put cohesive set design.
Okay. And I think the last category, best boss.
Ah, fuck.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I would have to go with Ultimecia because I think Sephiroth isn't. But wait. Do we factor all of the bosses? Better boss battles? Because I feel like 7 has more bosses that are kind of cool than 8.
I don't know about that.
Wait, we also never said which one has a better story.
No one wins.
N-
7 wins. 7 wins. Give it a
7 has a better story. And the only reason why 7 has a better story is
8's a fever dream.
8 is a fever dream. So, better story.
7.
Okay.
So what's the I think 8. You've got Omega Weapon. That's pretty cool. You've got.
But then if we're factoring in the weapons,
the
you have
Jumbo
to also...
Cactuar.
Okay, how about this? If we took all of the bosses from 7 and all of the bosses from 8 and pitted them in a fight, who would win?
Well, that's not fair. Emerald Weapon's involved. But if you took the characters from FF8 and made them fight the bosses from FF7, they would win. Because Selphie's there.
Well, also because they would just go immediately to their limit breaks
and annihilate them.
Do their limit breaks over and over again. Better boss battles. That's a good one.
I guess 7 requires more skill, but I don't know if that's the fault of that's like great boss design.
That's a real good question. Is the fact that 7's bosses require more skill, is that a good thing? I would kind of err towards yes, because...
But I think that's just because the combat system isn't broken, not because their bosses are designed any better.
Again, you go... Remember, we said straightforward combat for 7, and then funner combat to 8.
The Jumbo Cactuar is pretty great.
But then there are also some crazy bosses in 7.
Not like that. It's got a big mustache.
But then also consider this. The random encounters.
There are none in 8.
Oh yeah, you're right. We have to write down no encounter none.
None.
I forgot to put down encounter none. I cannot believe.
You need to bold that shit.
I cannot believe that I forgot to write down encounter none. Okay.
Okay, what does the science say?
Well, we still haven't decided on bosses.
Fuck. I don't know.
Do you want to just call it a tie?
Call it a tie. We
won't
count it for the science. And then best summons.
Oh, fuck. I mean, Knights of the Round. Fuck, man.
The brothers do rocks, paper, scissors, and then...
Dude, but fucking Knights of the Round.
It's pretty good.
Chocomog.
Chocomog's pretty good. Sometimes you get Fat Chocobo and it just lands on them.
Chocomog's pretty good.
It is.
Knights of the Round is pretty good. Eden's
pretty cool.
Eden's kind of cool, but then I didn't understand what Eden was. And Knights of the Round are literally the Knights of the Round table just slashing dudes.
Yeah.
And then also, Knights of the Round breaks the game?
Yeah. Summons in 8, they just kind of give you abilities.
Yeah, that's the other thing is...
You don't want to summon them.
You don't want to summon them. And I always felt like summoning in 7 was kind of cool. Because...
They were powerful?
They were powerful, and I felt motivated. So, summons.
Okay, 7. All right, what does the science say?
Okay, let's... I feel like there are still some disputes. So I'm going to go down the list for each game. I'm going to go down the list of each game. And then once we're done, I'm going to ask you, do we feel good about this list? So, 7, better main cast, better secondary cast. Straightforward combat. Story has fewer stupider moments, no forced romance plot, better villain. Eris's death is an iconic scene. Midgar is an amazing level. Cohesive steampunk set design. Better story. And powerful summons. Is there anything from that list that you dispute?
Nope, I think that sounds good to me.
Okay, now let's go down 8's list. Funner combat. Triple triad. No shitty minigames. Better music, including Eyes on Me. Fully invested in its romance subplot. Has a rock concert.
We also didn't include Selphie has a blog. She has a blog. She's the future. How did she know?
Cypher is a better secondary villain than Rufus or Hojo. More variety in its levels as well as design. Level design. Okay. And encounter none.
Bolded stars, little hearts around it. So, what does the science say? How many points do we have in each column?
Okay.
There's a rock concert.
Okay. So the score is 9-11 in favor of Final Fantasy VII.
Final Fantasy VII wins?
Got 11 points. Final Fantasy VIII got 9 points.
Well, damn. I guess
therefore,
the science proves it.
Final Fantasy VII is the greatest Final Fantasy game that we have played for the purposes of this podcast.
Damn.
And Final Fantasy VIII is the worst Final Fantasy game that we have played for the purposes of this. Oh, no, wait. I forgot to put in Selphie's blog.
Yep. Did you mention that they go to space? And it's covered in monsters.
Oh, shit. You know what? We forgot to discuss which game has the better space sequence.
It's 8. You go to space and it's covered in monsters.
Well, shit, son. I hate to say it.
We have a tie?
If we include Selphie's blog and space, we have a tie.
Well, we have a conundrum now. There can be only one tiebreaker.
Okay, so you're going to pick a random topic, or we're going to find a random topic, and then that will be the tiebreaker.
Yep.
I don't know. I think we basically...
Let's see. What thing did we not discuss that would help us?
I have it.
Help us break the tie. Okay.
Better side quests.
Ooh, that's a great question. One of them has chocobo racing. The other
here's
one
the deal.
has the Deep Sea Research Center.
Fuck, man. But the problem is that the side quests in 8, there's only 2 that are worth a fuck.
One has the Cetra Ruins.
There are 2 that are worth a fuck. And then in Final Fantasy VII, not only are there... Here's the weird thing. Final Fantasy VII has more side quests.
It's got a lot.
It's got a ton. And they all lead to kind of awesome items. And then also, there are characters that you have to unlock in side quests.
Yeah.
So in terms of giving you content, 7 has it.
Yeah, but it's not most side quests. And there are more side quests in 8 that I just didn't tell you to do because they're bad. You did the bad ones in 7.
Okay, so here's the deal. Is Chocobo Racing really worse than the Queen of Cards side quest?
Yes.
I think no.
Yes, because the Queen of Cards side quest you can sidestep if you just find her in Disc 4. You can still win all of those cards without
But
going
if
through
you
the
do it
bullshit.
legitimately, okay, let's say we did both of those side quests legitimately. Which one would cause you more displeasure? I think it's the Queen of Cards.
That is certainly true, but there is no option to skip the Chocobo side quest and still get the rewards.
You don't need to do the Chocobo side quest.
You don't need to do the Queen of Cards side quest. The game's broken an hour into Final Fantasy VIII. You don't need to do anything.
But chocobo racing doesn't ruin something that I love and hold cherished to my heart. Queen of Cards ruins something that I love, and that is triple triad. Because then
you spread
the
bad
random
rules.
will fucking spread, and then it ruined triple triad for life.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Chocobo racing, you tried to get those chocobos to fuck, and they would come out wrong.
But I mean, I think what is my favorite side quest from 7? What's my favorite side quest from 8? Probably, dude. I mean, if we're gonna count Vincent, Lucrezia's castle is kind of awesome.
Her cave, you mean?
Yeah, learning more about that shit. I mean, I know that you don't like Yuffie, but I think that she's kind of a cool character.
I like Yuffie.
I like Yuffie.
That's pretty cool. But then you also have...
Fuck. Yuffie versus Selphie.
Yuffie.
So our manic pixie girl is better in 7.
But like then you learn about Laguna in the Shumi village, and you've got Rain's story in Win Hill. I feel like we gave short shrift to Rain and Laguna's romance story because we were too focused on the nausea that is Squall and Renoa's, and their romance is like it's the fulfillment of their parents' romance. That's pretty.
You're
good.
right. One thing that 8 has is that it has a good B plot.
It's got a great B plot. 7 doesn't have a B plot.
You could argue that some of the character moments with like Barrett and Tifa are B plots, and like
they each have character moments. It's a bunch. It's an ensemble story. Whereas 7 is like, nah. What we care about is this dude Squall and his dad.
Okay, so
and his lady friend Renoa.
Space. So we're still tied.
We're still tied. Damn.
I'm not putting Selphie's blog on this fucking list.
Fine, take it off. 7 wins. 7 wins by omission of Selphie's blog.
Oh no, wait! I just realized something.
What?
Selphie's blog versus Dr. Gas's lab in Icicle Inn.
I mean, did you read any of Selphie's blog?
I did.
It's pretty great.
But Icicle Inn actually took the time to animate their side character.
That's true.
And their inner drama.
But it's a blog in fucking 1998. Who even said to do that?
Okay, how about this? Our tiebreaker will be this. Better ending.
Okay. I say 8.
I say 7.
Okay, convince me.
Okay, Final Fantasy VII has a climax at the very end, which the game actually scaffolds towards throughout the entire end of Disc 2 and Disc 3. It builds up to this climactic battle with Sephiroth, the results of which you see, and the consequence of which you actually also see. And so, in terms of conveying a conflict and providing that climax to the story or the resolution to that climax, the game fulfills that. The problem with 8 is that there's this climactic battle, and then all the expositional, like the declining or the resolution, is totally incongruous to the actual climax.
Now, my argument for 8?
Yes.
It's a nightmare. The game ends.
Oh, god damn it.
And then you walk around a fucking hellscape all alone until Squall starts seeing images of his past melting away in front of him like an acid trip, and then you go back in fucking time and you see him as a child.
I can't believe this.
And then it's a time paradox, and then you meet his mom basically, and then he moves on with his life, and then you come back and you find your lady friend in a field of flowers, and then it ends again.
Son, please.
You fly over the people, and you see his dad at his mom's grave, and it's really sad, and then it ends a third time. And they fly into the moon, and Squall kisses. Okay, 7 wins.
I was also going to say, if you actually gave it to 8, Baby Cloud in the live stream is way better than Baby...
That'd be a pretty great Child Cloud or Child Squall.
All right,
That's
so
the
our
tiebreaker.
tiebreaker, because we put in better B plot in space, we had a tie. But we went ahead and said better ending for 7, correct?
Yes.
And so 7 has won.
We did it. 8's the worst Final Fantasy game, and 7 is the greatest Final Fantasy game.
So, Gino, what is our horrible plans for the next podcast for Final Fantasy?
We are starting Final Fantasy IX.
But there's going to be, hopefully, a shorter delay between 8 to 7, but there will be a delay from 7 to 9.
Yeah, there will be a couple weeks in between. But it's worth mentioning we are playing the PC version of Final Fantasy IX, which means that you have access to tools that Final Fantasy IX players did not have.
And I am under the impression that in terms of the port job, I'm finally going to have a Final Fantasy game that's a good PC port job?
You should. You should have the definitive version of Final Fantasy IX.
But wait.
Crazy.
But wait, there's more.
You have access to fast forward mode and encounter none.
I was actually going to suggest that you and I are not doing this alone.
Oh yes, there is more. My other co-hosts are going to be joining in on our Final Fantasy IX related shenanigans. So we will try to make announcements before we have these podcasts. They will be less impromptu. But I would say for the next podcast, ZP, you need to get to Burmecia, and you need to get to the end of what would have been Disc 1, but there are not discs anymore because it's a PC version. You have to get to the end.
Wait, there's no weird save disc too?
Nope. Oh. It just goes.
So wait, you want me to start right now?
Yes.
What?
You can take a little time. You can take a little time off.
Can I take 1 week off?
Yeah, you can take a little time off. But I'm just saying that.
Also, if you're listening to this podcast, something that I need to ask the community is: would people prefer shorter weekly updates or these giant essays that are just these once a month things?
These monsters.
I think I'm gonna switch from giant monster essays to weekly, maybe 4 or 5 sections discussed per week.
That sounds smart for your safety.
It also sounds like that would make it easier to read.
Probably.
Because one of the reasons why, and I know a lot of people have actually asked me, why is it that there's sometimes a giant delay on my blogs?
Life happens.
Well, first off, yes, life happens. Episode 2 and 1, there was this weird month break, and I was going through some stuff. But also, these blogs are not easy to write. They take me... No. My blogs basically ruin an entire weekend. And I'm glad that we were able to finish 7 in less than 6 months.
Yeah.
And also, the whole point of us doing multi-podcasts was that we were hopefully going to record less. This podcast
far
is
more.
3 hours, and... Damn
it.
Our plan has failed. So no, I'm going to basically look into making maybe not micro blogs, but basically every week.
Well, when compared to your macro blogs, this is
considerable. You know how each blog is 20 paragraphs? What if it was just one weekly blog that only had 5 sections instead of this is parts 1 through 33?
It's a good idea.
What if it was just parts 1 through 5?
Sounds like a good idea. So listeners, go ahead. At
Give
Deep
us some
Listens
input.
Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have comment sections, or deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com.
Did you see someone on my blog asked me to play Final Fantasy VIII?
Yeah, that was amazing. I responded to them, but yo, dog, you don't even know. Here's a link to all of the Final Fantasy VIII content.
I can't believe someone wrote that. I was looking at that for 10, a minute, saying, wait, is this guy really asking me to play 8?
Yeah, I got back to them.
Oh, God.
So
we're done with 7?
We're done with 7.
It is the greatest Final Fantasy VII, but if we are led to believe by you, it will soon be replaced.
It better be. 9's so good. So next we will be playing 9. ZP, get to the end of Burmecia, and then that will be your breakpoint. That is what I have told my co-hosts as well. This train don't stop.
Yeah.
this train
Yeah.
can stop.
All right, fine.
And start thinking about what game you want us to play on your terms.
Because if you're listening to this podcast, and I know your co-hosts probably don't listen to it,
Probably not.
I'm going to cash in my money in the bank contract. And I'm going to pick the next Deep Listens.
Yes. After Final Fantasy IX is done.
Okay.
Cool.
Don't tell anybody. And also, who edits your podcast?
Billy.
Billy?
Yeah.
You didn't hear that last sentence.
He doesn't listen to the whole thing, let's be honest.
Okay, good.
Okay. Thank you, listeners, for sticking with us through this odyssey.
Oh my
Thank
god,
you.
I'm so glad it's over, but now I have to play another Final Fantasy game.
But
Fuck
it's the
my
best
life.
one. But it's the
Yeah,
best
you
one.
wrote it's almost as if you wrote an entire article on Giant Bomb for this game.
Yeah, I got paid to do a thing about this one.
Okay. Well,
And then you can actually read that article after we finish it.
I could finally read that article which you said, "Hey buddy, I know you're really happy that I wrote an article, but don't actually read it."
Yep. So, till next time, thank you, ZP.
Bye.
Thank you,
everyone.
listeners.
Hopefully you enjoyed this Odyssey.
Yes. Till next time. Peace!